use an indoor ball. No, that's not.
Oh, sure.
Size of the ball is the same? Size of the ball is the same, it's just the number of holes. And it has to do with wind. Oh my god, I love it. I love it. Hey, don't you keep talking. Is that on the back of your motorcycle? No, that's a Long Island. That's actually a
Sandra, we're good, sir.
no. The motorcycle I'm trying to keep like with their stickers I can put on.
You want it though?
Yeah, did he hear me? We'll tap my door.
Test.
Yeah, we're good. All right.
Good evening, everyone. Can I please have a motion and a second to reconvene the public meeting? Motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Are you guys in favor?
Aye.
Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence to honor our servicemen and women? I pledge
allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Can I have the district clerk call the roll, please?
Mr. Spencer? Mrs. Torregrossa? Ms. Torregrossa?
Here.
Mrs. DiLorenzo?
Present.
And Mrs. Napolitano-Ferno?
Here, present.
Mrs. Mallon?
Present.
Dr. Senamore?
Present.
Mrs. Iannatelli?
Present.
Mr. Kolahifar?
Seated.
Mrs. Poppy?
Present.
And Mr. Hauser?
Present.
Can I please have a motion and a second to accept the minutes of the July 29, 2024 meeting? Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Can I please have a motion and a second to approve the second reading and adoption of policy 0100, equal opportunity and non-discrimination? Motion.
Second.
Any questions?
Yes. I wanted to, at the last board meeting, I wanted to have legal weigh in. I voted no to this because board majority voted to not table, which has never been done in my 5 years that I'm here, to not table a policy request for a legal guidance because they had felt that we should have emailed the attorney. Board members are not supposed to be emailing the attorney. They made a decision last year to have only the board president do that, which years ago, every board member was able to email and to call the attorney, and the attorney would then send an email or answer to the whole board. With that, I voted no because every board member should have the right to get legal guidance. That policy has verbiage in it that should be changed. Mr. Spencer, in regards to the policy where it says trans children, do you know of other school districts that changed it to all children?
Just to be clear in terms of the policy that we're speaking about, let me just bring it up real quick. Okay, and this would be your non-discrimination policy, I understand, correct? So in terms of your specific question, you may remove the specific reference to transgender and gender expansive, so that specific outline of students. And you may replace that with, for example, other districts have done it, where they've replaced that language with all students, right? So in effect, that particular provision in the policy would read, the district will adhere to all applicable federal and state laws and regulations as amended by the board in connection with the creation of a safe, supportive, and affirming school environment for all students. So that's in effect what it would read.
Oh, sorry, correct. I believe that it should read all children because we shouldn't be choosing any select group, one group or two groups. It should be all children. It should be concurrent to everyone.
I agree with you on everything you said there. The other concerns I had with that was one of my concerns, was all. And my other concern was the guidance from NICEAD, which omitted parents and left parents out, stating that a social transition can occur without the parents' knowledge. I do not think parents should be unaware of that. And I also do not think that that would be fair to teachers to put that on them to just go along with whatever the student says without discussing it with the parents. So I want to just also ask you if you can provide us any kind of answers about where that particular guidance, where that particular document falls within this policy. Is that still something that we have to go by? Or will this policy mean that if a student wants to socially transition without the parents' knowledge, the school has to do that?
Right, so the mandatory notification piece that you're speaking about, that is not a part of that particular policy. That guidance from the state, delving into transgender issues and so on and so forth, transgender students, the guidance suggests, based upon information obtained from select groups, and it did include parents and so forth, educators, administrators, policymakers. It suggested that be left to the student, right? So the guidance focuses on a very student-centered approach when it came to parent notification of a student's decision to transition. So, and that took into account certain factors, for example, the student's fear of non-acceptance at home, right? Or concerns by the student expressed in terms of safety at home that they may meet in connection with their decision to transition. So those are the key factors that the guidance has in relation to that particular piece. But bear in mind, it's guidance, right? So the district will discuss it. The district will take its position. There's no mandatory rule or regulation governing whether or not there must be notification or not. I understand in speaking with the superintendent, Dr. Centimore.
Yeah, so, there's a difference between policy and practice. And oftentimes the terms get intertwined and they're very distinct. So policy is one of the key, responsibilities of a Board of Education, review policy to approve policy. So any type of policy that states, the school will never or will always, inform the parents, there is no such language in policy. So then the question is, well, what has the practice been? Well, keep in mind, our belief is that education is a partnership, so we always look to have parents as informed partners. We also know that educators are mandated reporters if a child is ever in danger or could possibly be endangering somebody else. Those things are always in play. In a sensitive topic like this, and the way it's been handled, it's going to be handled on a case-by-case basis. There are some children, including children who are transitioning, who have a supportive home environment where there's open communication and these things are being readily discussed. And so there's no reason for the school to look to hinder those open lines of communication. There are other situations where the home environment is not as conducive in terms of acceptance and communication, where there is a potential danger to the child. And so, it puts our educators, especially our counselors, whether they be guidance school counselors, social workers, psychologists, in a tough situation. And the guidance for them is always to err on the side of a child's health and safety. Okay. So again, there's a difference between policy. This is not in policy, and a difference with practice. And that's how we kind of guide our professional practice. And as superintendent of schools, that's how I would guide my, my educators and counselors accordingly.
Does anybody have any other questions?
No, but I just would like to state for the record that this policy actually came to the board last school year. We, at that time, did table it. We did then ask for guidance. We then didn't have it on the agenda again until recently. So we had gone through the proper steps and we did allow time to get guidance. I understand more guidance was asked upon, but I wanted everybody, just the public, to know that we did follow procedure and it was tabled and we brought it back again. Thank you.
Yes, and we did, yes, it was brought to us last year. We tabled it. We did learn at the previous meeting that there was, thank you, Melissa, you had asked a deadline. And as you can see, proof here tonight, the fact that the wording now, I believe it will be changed to all, there are three trustees up here who approved it with this wording that it has. So this is proof tonight that it actually should have been tabled again so that we could all be informed, because obviously we all needed a little bit more information, not just Jackson, everybody needed that extra information from our attorney, who is now here tonight, thankfully, and that is proof that we actually should have, and in just good board etiquette, I can't ever see myself telling any one of you, no, you cannot get more legal guidance, there's no deadline. Absolutely not. We are policymakers. It is our job, it is our duty to make sure the wording is correct and everybody is at least comfortable. We want to come to a consensus. So tabling it twice would have been the proper board etiquette to do. And I understand that wasn't done, but that's what should have been done, and that's the reality of it.
Well, and not to mention, again, for 5 years, I've never had board members say no to asking for legal guidance with no deadline. 1. 2, board leadership is supposed to be looking for a consensus, communication, and for us to have discussions in public. That is what we're supposed to be doing. You're not supposed to be just saying, well, we have the majority, too bad, tough luck, nope, you don't need the guidance, you had time. It's as per your policy and that you guys wanted to say that only the board president should speak to attorneys. That was never done before. That's now. If that's the case, then why wouldn't you wait till legal is here? Why was it such a rush? Because you had 3 votes? That's not appropriate. That is not the way that you collaborate with other board members or work with people. That is the way that you show and flex muscles to say, we have the majority.
So I actually didn't know the way the votes were going to go because I don't poll the board before to see how they're going to vote. But the board president speaking to the attorney, that's been since I've been on the board, not from last year. That's always been what's been told to me, and that's just what I've always...
That was never the way we always called Greg. We always had, everyone had access to calling Greg Gercio. Everyone.
Okay, well, I guess that was not communicated to me at the time.
Marisol, you were there when it was changed. You were there. You specifically, last year, when they said, when Mr. Spencer asked, how do you want to do this? Do you want it to be that the board goes through the board president or it goes through the board? You said board president. Just to remind you.
I did. I did say that.
So if you did say that, then how did you?
Because that's the way it's always been done.
No, it was never that way. It was always, we all got to.
Are we going to vote?
Jesse, did all the board have access to Greg Gercio's cell phone and call him? For 4.5 years, actually now it's over 5, I always called him.
So there's a difference between calling Greg Gercio and contacting.
He was our attorney.
Right. We did have other partners too that, primarily we dealt with. I do want to direct the board's attention to the board policy regarding the school attorney. And it states, the president of the board or the superintendent of schools or a designee may contact the council on legal matters. So I do remember a conversation surrounding this, and based on that policy, which has been in effect, it was last revised in 2017. Based on that language, it was to have it go through the board president unless, another need arises.
Again, did the board have access to calling Greg Garcia? All of the board, for years.
I don't know, honestly.
Okay, because we all did.
Right.
We all called, Greg could tell you, we all called him, and no one ever got charged for it either. He didn't charge you unless there was work associated.
Right, but right now the board can't call Greg Garcia.
Was that if we can't call the attorney for legal guidance, the way April said, how come we didn't get legal guidance? How come? Because if you understand transparency, it's not supposed to go through emails, which she doesn't understand. She wants to put everything in emails and not come in public and speak about it. And that's not how it's supposed to be done. We have questions about this. This should be done in public with the attorney present.
I would just like the record to reflect, my yes vote had nothing to do with the majority. I am okay with the wording as trans and gender expansive. However, I'm also okay with changing it to all to make everybody comfortable. So it wasn't like a just majority, let's push it forward thing on my end. I would like to just move, if we're going to change it to all though, I would like to move forward with doing that so we can get a policy in place that protects kids in the way they need to be protected.
Right, so we're going to vote with the policy with the changing to be all students. Is that my understanding? Right, so can I please have a motion and a second to approve the second reading and adoption of policy 0100, equal opportunity and non-discrimination as amended?
Motion. Second.
Melissa, how do you vote?
No.
That is the change.
Okay, so then yes, I want it yes with the all. We are on the same page. All students.
Ms. DiLorenzo,
Yes.
Ms. Napolitano-Farnell,
Yes, with all students.
I'm a yes. Ms. Iannatelli?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Can I please call for a motion and a second to approve the second reading and adoption of policy 5300, Code of Conduct?
Motion. Second.
Does anybody have any questions?
Yes, I do. A few questions about some of the things on here. On page 49 of the Code of Conduct, which now I have to bring it up here. Get to page 49, there's a policy that's referenced, and unless it's just me, I don't see it in our policies. It's at the bottom of page 49 under treatment of cell phones, policy 5695. I can't find it on board docs. Is it just me, or is there? I'm just not sure. Yes, right here. 5695.
Jesse, are you looking for that policy?
I don't see it listed. I think there's a typo on the number. I'm going to take a look real quick.
Okay, thank you. And let me see if I think I have another question. No, okay. Yeah, it was just that one. I wasn't sure what that was because I could not find that on there, so.
While Jesse's looking for that, I'm just going to say that Regulation 5420R, Student Health Services, was presented to the board for our edification. Does anybody have any questions or comments on that?
Yeah, I just want to say I am excited to see that Life Act, something I brought up last year, has been added. And I am glad that we were able to take advantage of the free program to have one sent to the school district. And like I said, the Nassau County Police Department carry them, EMTs carry them. It's just another aid in helping if the need arises.
And they're in the nurse's office. And nurses are trained.
Perfect, thank you. to
Policy number, typo, or the policy?
Right. I do think either replace the policy number or because the sentence is teachers and administrators are authorized to confiscate student cell phones that are being used in violation of the Code of Conduct and or Policy 5695, student use of electronic devices. So if we just find that Policy 5695 just no longer exists because it was enveloped in some other way, we either just strike that from it or we'll update it with the correct number. Yeah. So I think you just approve it as amended.
I'm not for voting on something that needs to be amended. I'd rather strike it or save it for the next.
I mean,
Conduct is suffices.
I would be for striking it also. All right, so I'm going to call for a motion and a second to approve the second reading and adoption of policy 5300, Code of Conduct as amended. I need a motion and a second.
Motion. Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We now have our superintendent's update, Dr. Centimore.
I'm very excited, so if I start to lift off my seat, I'll need everybody to kind of pull me back down because the school year is about to start, and I can't wait. It has also been a great summer, so I have a lot to cover. I'm going to be robust. I don't know how succinct, but John and Brandon promised that when they do their presentation, they'll make up for my lack of succinctness. I appreciate both you gentlemen. First, some business type matters. So as you're aware from a previous update, Mr. Hauser and I, we attended a public hearing last month on the foundation aid formula. And tonight for the board's consideration and approval is an advocacy letter to the Governor's Commission, the Rockefeller Commission, that is looking at the foundation aid, and we'll be making recommendations in the coming months. A very, very quick turnaround. And so obviously what we're looking to do, our number one priority is always ConnectQuad, but we're team players and we care about every school district in New York State, every child, every staff member, every community member. We need to ensure that this formula, when it gets adjusted, and it is likely to be adjusted, that it is fair, that it is equitable, and that it is fiscally sustainable for all schools. Again, certainly ConnectQuad, but all schools across New York State. This means that not only should they be looking at a hold harmless provision and have that be incorporated into this, which hold harmless means you won't cut our current aid numbers, but we know from living that from last year that just keeping us current with the aid level is not enough because all expenses go up, they increase. So they also need to build into this an adequate annual aid increase as well. Yes to the hold harmless, not good enough. Also must have some kind of an aid accelerator as well, modest as it may be, just to ensure that we could keep up with costs. This review of the foundation aid formula shouldn't be done in isolation because there are a lot of things that impact school finance. There are a lot of mandates that are either completely unfunded or very poorly funded. You've heard me speak quite often. I'm going to continue to speak quite often about the electric bus mandate as one particular example. And then there are other factors such as healthcare costs and pensions that need to be looked at and revised on behalf of both districts and employees. So, it's important that none of this is looked at in isolation. So for the board's consideration, there is an advocacy letter, and I thank you. In terms of the summer leading into the school year, pardon me, it's been a great summer of enrichment and other programs and sports camps. Over at Basti, for example, they had a tour of the ocean. Idlehour recently had a carnival. At the high school with their enrichment, they had foods of the day from around the world. Thank you to all of our staff and all of these programs. Outstanding. I also want to thank all of the staff involved in the summer curriculum writing and the professional development. Oftentimes we look at our educators and other types of staff, support staff. We had support staff here as well. They're 10-month employees. They have their summers off. Folks, we had a lot of our staff in throughout the summer, curriculum writing, professional development. Thank you for your commitment to our children. Our marching band had a wonderful summer showcase for parents. Thank you to Orba, our music and arts boosters. They provided the ice cream, and of course, our talented kids and their directors provided the entertainment. We're very excited for their new theme that they rolled out on T-Bird Nation. It's going to be a great marching band season. We also thank SEPTA for recently hosting on Friday evening the Summer Ice Cream Social over at Sycamore. Very well attended. They always do a great job over there with SEPTA. Thank you very much. We recently had a community member bring to our attention, and she's with us today, thank you, about graduation video archives not being readily available. There was one particular year that was missing, 2020. Our IT department went at it right away, found that video, got all the other videos secured. They're now on our website under the community tab. The website, it will be a constant work in progress. We're working closely with the IT department to continue to update things. So we appreciate the feedback. And thank you to our community for their feedback. We get lots of feedback from the community, whether it's about things with the website, videos, bus passes going home. We're taking a close look at that as well. So we always appreciate feedback from our community. It does not fall upon deaf ears. Again, education is a partnership. Big thank you to go out to Ronkonkoma Rotary, Green Site, School Supplies, BOCES, Sayville Kiwanis Club, and just district families at large. We had a huge backpack donation, about 100 backpacks filled with supplies to help our families. Again, we appreciate that kind of sense of community and that generosity, a true hallmark of Connecticut. The Connecticut Public Library is happy to announce that Sycamore Avenue Elementary School is the winner of this year's Summer Challenge contest. Each school will be receiving a list of all children from their school who participated. We want to thank everybody for being involved. We love promoting reading, especially all year round, especially when school is not in session. Kudos, everybody. Thank you to our public library for their partnership. And speaking of the partnership with the public library, in a couple of weeks, on Saturday, September 14th, from 11 a.m. to 2, they're hosting Community Wellness Day. Outstanding event. I encourage everyone to go attend. Thank you to all involved from all the various organizations, our own staff, and of course, our friends at the library. So there is certainly an air of excitement as we're now getting ready for the start of the school year. Athletics at the high school has already started. All of our teams at the high school are now practicing. They look great. Thank you to our nurses who put in a great deal of effort this summer with summer sports physicals. So there was a lot of flexibility needed, and we thank them. We thank our parents as well for their understanding and collaboration, of course, our athletic department. Good luck to all of our teams at all levels, middle school included. It's going to be a great fall season. Come out and support our student athletes. Our students in grades K, 6, and 9 are ready to make their big transitions. There were a number of orientations leading up to now, including earlier today at the high school. Very well attended. Very excited for that. Over the next 2 days, starting tomorrow, our teachers and staff will be in for Superintendent's Conference Day and the Staff Orientation Day. They'll be attending a number of various meetings and trainings. I'll have an opportunity to address the staff tomorrow morning, and of course, we'll have a nice breakfast for them and myself, the cabinet, and our Board of Education will be there to serve our staff. It's our way to give back to them, and we appreciate all of our instructional and support staff for all they do, and of course, our kids are returning on Tuesday. Our amazing students. We are ecstatic. We saw a lot of our seniors this summer recently doing their parking spots. I kept looking for a spot that says, Dr. C, you are the best. I haven't seen that spot yet, but hopefully maybe we'll see one by the end of the year. Just a hint, by the way. All right. Our bus drivers are doing their practice runs. The wheels on the buses go round and round, and they're ready to roll. I can't wait to be there at the crack of dawn on Tuesday as they roll out of our lot. The schools look amazing. I don't want to steal Mr. Allen and Mr. Weisberg's thunder because they're going to give a presentation. But myself and the Board of Education have had a chance to already visit several schools. We'll be visiting some more tomorrow. I want to thank our grounds department, our custodial team, our maintenance staff, true unsung heroes in our schools. The floors sparkle, the lawns look pristine, a great deal of care. And, whether it's, the experience on a bus, the experience in a cafeteria, walking into a building and seeing how clean it is out on the fields. This all matters to a student's learning experience. This all matters to the experience of our employees, our instructional, administrative, and support staff. Kudos to all departments and facilities. We're ready to roll. Outstanding. September menus have been posted. Our food service committee will be having its first meeting in the month of September. I know one of the topics we're very excited about is guest chef. We're looking forward to rolling that out. Mr. Hauser, what are you going to be making us? What's your specialty that you, as a guest chef?
Some type of souffle. I'm not quite sure.
You're a good sport, Mr. Hauser. We're very excited. Communication is very important. I know our buildings have been reaching out. I have, my welcome back letter to the community coming out shortly, as well as that eagerly awaited back to school video. I know you look forward to those videos every month. Those will be coming out shortly. I know our buildings have already done their outreach. To our parents, if you have not already registered, we've now gone to the communication platform Parent Square, very user-friendly. So please register if you have not yet done so. Please continue to check our website as well as social media for updates. September is just jam-packed. There are a ton of open school nights. There are a lot of events. Obviously, the athletic contests start as well. Please check the calendar so you can be involved and try to make these events. This Thursday evening is a workshop. The board and I will begin the process of reviewing the district's mission statement and identifying areas for goal setting as part of strategic planning. And we are all very part of that. I'll make reference to that when I meet with the faculty tomorrow. Obviously, we have a current mission statement in place. I'll review that with them, but also talk to them about how board and myself will be starting this process as well. The town of Islip will host their color run as part of Islip Goes Purple Month at Town Hall on September 4th at 4 p.m. And then later that month on September 19th in the district, we're going to promote Wear Purple Day in recognition of substance awareness and, of course, recovery. As always, we thank our PTA, SEPTA, ORBA, Athletic Boosters, Rotary, Civics, Kiwanis, and all community organizations for all that they do for our students, staff, and community. It's going to be an absolutely outstanding school year. Together, we're going to strive and thrive in 24-25. We'll welcome our staff back tomorrow and our kids on Tuesday. Everybody have an enjoyable Labor Day weekend. Thank you. And now,
Strive and thrive. I like it.
strive and thrive in 24-25. We go with it?
Mr. Allen for facilities update. Thank you, Dr. Centimore.
So in order to lessen the narrative this year, I've taken a more visual approach, try to do it all with just simple pictures to give an idea as to the scope of work that's been taking place over the past year. I'm going to touch on all the capital information and projects, and then I'm going to pass the mic over to Brandon, who's going to talk about some of the projects that we've done in-house, either with general fund and or our own staff. So quite simply, the year in review. It has been a very, very busy year, as you'll see from some of the pictures included. High school, phase 1 of 3 this year. We're replacing about 85,000 square feet of the roof of the high school in the area around the athletic area and the guidance suite. The interesting thing about this roof is it's not a simple rubber membrane anymore. If you look at the left, that's just a simple rubber membrane exposed to the elements. Any little screw or nut or bolt and everything else, every little pebble could cause problems with the roof. The new system is almost an upside down system. We take all of that protective material, we put it on the bottom, we then put insulation, and then we put the concrete pavers across the top. That'll protect it from the UV light and any kind of sharp elements that might cause any kind of punctures. So this is the area over the athletic area, and this is the area over the guidance area. Cherokee, Duffield, and Boston. Those are 3 buildings that we tackled with air conditioning, building-wide air conditioning, but in order to do that, we needed to add electrical service. Not only did we need to bring electrical service in from the pole, but we also had to increase the service to the building. Extensive amount of work involving a lot of different people, PSE&G, the contractors, and all of the building occupants. Any activities that were taking place in the building needed to be coordinated to the point where it wasn't going to negatively impact activities in the building and or the custodial cleaning. I'm happy to say that all the buildings are running on the new service at this point, and the new HVAC equipment will be operational for the first day of school, to the point that we will have air conditioning in these three buildings. We're still working on the BMS controls, but hopefully we'll have that done within the end of the week, by the end of next week as well. So you can see just the scope of work that's involved. This is the BOSTI system, both inside and outside the building, in order to make sure we have enough electrical capacity to handle all the equipment. So no longer are we going to see those window ACs outside of all the classrooms. And we have these two pieces of equipment that you'll see on the right-hand side. It's either a wall-mounted unit or a ceiling-mounted unit. It's all predicated by the amount of space we have above the ceiling. So different situations, different space accommodations will allow us to put different type of equipment. Sycamore cafeteria. We had this cafeteria floor needed to be abated. We were doing a large abatement project in the gymnasium as well. We had a transfer to capital last year of an amount that would allow us to cover this. So we did a full abatement in the cafeteria Sycamore, before and after, right and left. This is the other big project that took place over in Sycamore as well. Picture of the floor on the left is the old iron-bound floor, the 1960s floor that had an asbestos material bedding compound beneath the wood. So on the right-hand side, you can see the new refurbished floor in there. One of the things that the auditors has noted the past couple of years is a lack of a generator for the backup, data backup for the district. So out of last year's budget and finally completed this year was the installation of a backup generator up at Cherokee. New boilers, not very sexy, but very, very practical. We've done new boilers at Cherokee and BOSTI. We're going to be also doing boilers in Pearl and the upper boiler room at the high school. New bleachers. They've gotten a lot of use. They're less than a year old. It's kind of impressive as to how big they are relative to the old ones. We've increased the capacity on the main bleachers by a little over 1,100 people. And in the baseball field, we've increased that by almost 200 people. In addition, they are ADA compliant. One of the components of this project that we've undertaken is making sure we have ADA compliance in a lot more locations. We were always grandfathered in, everything was acceptable, but as we start renovating things, we have to come up to the new code. These are some of those projects. Here are some more. The front entrance of Sycamore. That building is actually on a slab. It's about 3 steps above the ground level. And we've only had ramps in the back of the building and at the front of the main entrance. Ironically, when we started looking at it, the front entrance of Sycamore, the ramp was not at the right pitch and ratio, so it needed to be replaced. So we have 3 new entrances into the front of Sycamore, into the large areas, auditorium, main entrance, and the library. That's the main entrance. So these are some of the projects that have been previously awarded already and stuff that we're already starting to move forward on. These are projects that we got approval for back in the spring, and we awarded back in May. So Sycamore, there were 8 separate locations that had not received, that had not completed the building air conditioning project there. That equipment has been installed. It will be operational in the coming days. OBMS and RMS, we have been picking away at those buildings over the last couple of years. This will allow us to finish those 2 buildings as well, completely air conditioned in all offices and instructional spaces. Those materials have been delivered and are on site. Please keep in mind that this does not include air conditioning the gymnasiums. Every time I start talking about building-wide air conditioning, everybody wants to think that the gymnasiums are part of the project. It is not, due to the cost involved.
Is that something we're going to be looking into in the future?
As soon as we're charged with looking at another capital project, we'll bring it to the bond committee and we'll price it out and we'll make a determination whether it's something that collectively we want to move forward with.
What are we doing in these gyms to make sure that at least there's more cooling? Because Last time I was there, it was in one of the elementary schools, it was very hot. And I know you guys put big fans,
That's
something we had requested a few years ago, and I know they got the big fans. Are we doing anything else?
That's about the best we can do at this point.
Because, I mean, indoor gym on those rainy days in the summer months,
It can be tough.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. But the price tag associated with it, it's not something that we can absorb without going through a capital project. Considering the fact that the district gets 67% state aid for projects, it really has to go through a state aid project and get voter approval.
what about, and the other thing I just wrote down, the baseball stands. I know last year I came to you after I watched a line drive.
Yep. I was at that
Actually
game.
hit a parent in the leg. Very, very dangerous. I didn't realize that the ball could even make it over those high fences that they had. I thought that those were high enough, but apparently not. Is there anything we're going to be doing? Because I had mentioned possibly doing a net, at least on those sides, so parents, children, community members who are sitting in those stands don't get hit. I mean, a baseball being hit in the face.
Yeah.
Talking about damage.
It is absolutely something we were looking at. With the spring season for baseball and everything else, it wasn't something that I could price out and get included in this year's budget, just because of the timing and the sequence of everything. We are looking internally whether or not there's anything that we can do, whether it means using some of the old flexible safety netting that was around the older turf field and putting pipe sleeves in there and maybe putting it up on a pulley system. We got to take a look at it, but it was not something in the budget, and it's a little bit more extensive than just hoping. So we are looking at it. Just it has not been high priority since the season had ended, and now we have a little bit of time before that season starts up again.
Yes, I definitely want to look into that.
No, 100% we are.
I was going to ask about the gym, right? Because I always ask about the gym. It's so hot, and it's in the high school, they use it for assessing area.
So the main gym is air conditioned, but the new gym is not.
And
That's
that's not something that they're going to look to air conditioned down the line at some point, like.
So the only way to move forward, my opinion, the only way to move forward with something like that is if we get the bond committee together, we actually review the priorities within the district and we get prices, and then we can, as a committee, would make a recommendation.
So I believe we're up now, this is the year, the state requires every district from a facility standpoint to do a 5 years.
2025 is a building condition survey. Yes, sir.
Is that next school year or this school year, the end of?
Next year.
That's for next year?
Correct.
All right. I mean, as part of our workshop Thursday night, one of the things that I'll bring to the board is talking about, the next phase of potential type work. AC is on the list. And so it does tie into with the timing of, I guess, next year's, updated with the architect, the facility study.
True, but the building condition survey does not look at systems that are not in place. It looks at the current infrastructure. It's not going to make assumptions as to what we may want and everything else. It's not the way it technically works. I will say, though, when we did approve this last capital project, 2022, 2021 was when it was actually approved. We also, the district created a capital reserve. We knew that we didn't have the money at the time to invest in another large capital project. The hope was that there would be resources each year that could augment that. And when there was enough, the large space air conditioning was a topic of conversation in the last bond committee. So people are aware of it. It's just a question of how to make it happen.
Thank you. That'll also be a theme I'll bring up on Thursday night. We have debt service connected with the current bond projects and then, how does that project moving forward if we ever want to go back for another bond? You mentioned transfer to capital. That's a funding source that's already in an account that doesn't impact the general fund budget. And you just referenced a capital reserve that does require a voter approval, but that's already money sitting in a reserve that doesn't impact the general fund. So these are some of the themes that I'll be bringing up as well on Thursday night.
I think your mic went out.
I got timed out. So I'm sorry, I usually never stop talking. So the high school, people need to be aware that the electrical service upgrade for that building, similar to the elementary schools, has been approved and awarded. The contractor has placed the order for all the equipment. Next year, we hope to have that in place so that we can start this same air conditioning project at the high school and get everything operational. And then the Slocum air conditioning equipment, that has all been ordered. We're going to have it probably in the next couple weeks. Unfortunately, once again, we need the electrical service. The electrical service for the last 3 buildings took approximately 70 weeks to get all the switchgear and equipment and everything else delivered to the district. So we're going to do the same thing that we did in the last 3 elementary schools. We will install the equipment. We will have it up there. It's going to be like Christmas morning for the year. The teachers aren't going to be able to open it and play with it, but it's going to be there. So when the electric comes in and goes into place, we're going to be able to get them operational pretty quickly. So this goes back to what I was saying. One of the projects that was approved in the spring, the contractor was already able to get the equipment because this building had a new electrical service. We were going to be able to get this equipment operational in the coming week or 2. All right, so we're getting into projects on tonight's agenda, actually. So if you can see the hatch marks on here, last summer we did the green area. That's the gymnasiums, the areas of the home careers, language wing, and everything else. That was all done last year at the middle schools. The area where it's red is to be completed this fall. So if we're able to approve this tonight without any concerns, I've already spoke with the principals. We've already had some deep conversations as to how to make this happen. We can move from one side of the building to the other without impacting instructional processes by doing the work after hours. So projects that are currently up at the state, we have the high school pool refurbishment. All the amendments have been filed. The Suffolk County Department of Health is on board with the plans now. That was one of the holdups and everything else. I anticipate getting a project manager in the next week or 2 at the latest. So we will be on schedule to bid this work out in September or early October, open it with a December start date.
Do we know where we're going to be having our swim team? Are they going to be going to Sayville or to, do we know if we're going to be using, I know that in the past, we've made agreements with, neighboring districts like Hauppauge or Sayville, most of the time Sayville though.
I don't know
East
which
Islip.
I don't know which one Mr. Mallory has been in contact with to coordinate with, but they are aware of the December start date. And that's the start time that they preferred based upon the schedule for their programs and everything else. I'll find that out for you.
That'd be great, thank you.
Absolutely.
The swimmers were notified of that they're not going to be swimming at Connect One, right?
I don't typically speak to students.
Right.
So
But I just want to make sure that the swim team does get
I will make
notified.
sure the message is
So that they're prepared.
Yeah, 100%. And especially since I'm speaking publicly about this, we will make sure they're told ASAP. Air conditioning, this goes back to what I was saying with the electrical being done. So we're going to be able to start putting more additional air conditioning. It's going to take at least 2 phases to get all the air conditioning done at the high school, but we are starting. And that's in the remaining places because there are many places that already have it. And I said earlier, the athletic boilers, those are end of life and need to be replaced. Idle hour, that's going to be electric and HVAC. John Pearl's going to be electric, HVAC, a little bit of masonry, and new boilers in that building as well. These are all up at the state. So I'm going to pass it off to Mr. Weisberg. He's going to give you an update on all the stuff that we're doing in-house with our staff.
Have to adjust the mic to get the height. All right, so thanks for giving me the time here. So I'm going to speak on more of the stuff that we handle through our general operating budget, as well as through our in-house maintenance, custodial, and grounds departments. So a couple things that caught our attention during the year were some observations of potholes and drainage irregularities at Ronkonkoma Middle School at the exit primarily onto Peconic. So we were able to work with a trusted vendor to replace that. In coordination with John's the capital project program, we actually took the opportunity to paint the Sycamore Gymnasium so that we can avoid driving a lift on a new gymnasium floor. So we're able to, you can see here the difference between the old beige, which is Fragile Beauty, and the new bright white to brighten it up in the space. When you walked in the building, you may or may not have noticed in the past that the previous stair set was delaminating at some points, and definitely a visual and eventually going to be a deteriorating aspect of the building. So we're able to replace that this summer. Thank you for everyone for your patience with the noise. John Pearl, I'm especially proud of this one because there's a multifaceted, there's multiple departments involved in this. So you can see on the left here, John Pearl had that original wood paneling that was covering some nasty masonry work with those old style drop down spring assist tables. So we were able to, with our own maintenance team, not through the use of any vendors, get in there, demo the space, remove the old drop down tables, re-sheetrock the walls, paint the walls, clean up the electrical devices. We had an opportunity to take some of the surface mount electrical raceways and run them concealed in the walls nice and clean, and give the space a nice refresh. And then we hit it with some primary colors for the elementary students to enjoy.
I just want to comment on this, that, this picture does not do it justice. We did a walkthrough last year, and the picture on, last year. And the old picture, like, you could tell it's, paneling, but it was unbelievable. The new is so amazing. What a transformation. So I really have to give, everybody credit for this was a big job, and we did it in-house, and it really came out magnificent.
Yeah, and we are going to look to apply these efforts to other buildings in the district. So we have our eyes on Slocum Elementary School, being it's basically the same setup as John Pearl was. So we have our eyes on that for next summer to do in-house as well. Same procedure. Another component of the Pearl cafeteria was actually through using our own in-house maintenance technicians, our HVAC guys in particular. We're able to provide 2 new heating and cooling HVAC systems to the space. The existing heating and ventilation system is at end of life, although it is still in the space to be used as emergency auxiliary heat if we were to ever need it. We were able to do everything from beginning to end with electric, new units. We were able to size and source the correct units and put those up, and the space is now heated and cooled on a brand new system. Okay, so moving more to our custodial team, you may or may not have noticed walking around the buildings, we have adopted a new hallway floor honing and burnishing system. We are getting away from the use of these caustic chemical strippers and wax and stripping and wax year over year. So the system that we switched to essentially has a heavy phase of honing using diamond pads or abrasive pads to actually sand and polish the terrazzo, apply a layer of sealant, and then use a high-speed burnisher. The hope or the system is set up in such a way that year over year the sealant and polish does not get stripped off, and we start from scratch every year. We actually just go over it with minor abrasives, leave the coating on, add one more coating, and then burnish it, and they're like new. So we've gone away with chemical strippers and things of that nature, and the floors shine much better than they did with wax, traditional wax. District-wide drinking fountain replacements. You may have noticed this. We have a mix of the district, or had a mix, I should say, of the old porcelain and some of the old aluminum fountains. So we've been going through, again, with in-house maintenance, doing electrical, plumbing, and installing new filtered water fountains with the bottle filler components. Just some numbers on that. There's 106 of them in the district, and we have 10 left. So we are rounding the finish line. It's been a very I look forward to bringing it to a close in the next few weeks for sure. And it's something that everyone in the hallway will pass me and say, "Oh, very excited to see that," versus the old style fountain.
And the filters on those are checked and replaced period.
Yes, they actually have the
They have the
indicator
red.
lights on them, the
Right.
green, yellow, red, and the custodians religiously put in work orders about this is yellow. Let's make sure we have filters.
Great, thank you.
So over at the high school, we were provided some light pole banners by the high school building administration. So you may have seen those go up in the last few days, just to give the place a collegiate look. And in the pottery studio at the high school, we had our in-house carpentry team and also electrical team build a custom table for the pottery studio that incorporated some electric hidden behind the skirts of the table so they don't get splattered with clay. And that was in coordination with the fine arts director and the pottery teacher.
That is very cool. That is very, very cool.
It's cool.
The things that you guys are doing in-house is amazing.
Great.
It's amazing. Please thank them because
I will.
that's a lot of work and it's a lot of savings for the district.
Absolutely. And it further builds our professional development. Every time we take one of these pro cafeteria HVAC projects from start, everyone on maintenance gets a chance to see how we, design these systems, size them, put them in, coordinate with the building, and it just sharpens their skills.
It really is. It's amazing the talent you have in your guys' area with your workers, men and women. Amazing.
And I think Brandon's selling himself short a little bit too, because Brandon did a lot of the calculations and a lot of the determinations, especially when it came to the Pearl project. He's the one who did the research, he's the one who did the determinations and everything else, and then worked with the guys as far as allowing them to show their level of expertise.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
I look forward Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Hello. Some of the things we accomplished with outside vendors. So here you see, it's not very exciting of a photo, but we do have vendors come in. They clean out to a high level our wood shop exhausts, our kitchen exhausts, our other exhaust systems. So we do keep an eye on them. Come and do quality control of their work. Make sure we're getting what we pay for as a district. I think they do an excellent job, but I have to see it when they do it. Another thing we like to get in the habit of doing, and it's a long change, but is preventative maintenance instead of reactive maintenance. So we're getting into a rhythm of having regularly scheduled maintenance on our major building components. In this picture on the right here, you'll see that it's actually the burner assembly of one of the new boilers at Cherokee, and it gets taken apart, the electrodes are changed, things are checked, and the boilers are fired up and calibrated back to factory levels. This is so that we don't get to the first cold day in the end of October and we're running around like crazy trying to find heat. Switching to outside the building a bit, we had our grounds department in coordination with the building administration clean up some of the old unkempt planting installations that were in the courtyard at Bosty. We had an opportunity here to get rid of some flowering trees that attracted bees and other undesirable pests. This is just highlighting that we're able to support. I know the senior class has a large initiative to paint the parking lot spots, so our grounds department was able to go through and clean the spots up, even amidst all the activity this summer, and get the place ready to allow these seniors to really enjoy that activity. And another task that we've actually taken on is the district-wide irrigation repairs and maintenance. Historically, a lot of times vendors are called upon and leaned on to do the yearly winterizations and startups. So we've taken that over in-house with some rental equipment and compressors. Here you see some some repairs to the irrigation system at Cherokee that was done in-house without relying on the use of a vendor. And that's we have a very talented grounds department, and a lot of hands were involved in a lot of learning so that we can hopefully fix this stuff all in-house going forward and not rely on vendors. All right, thanks.
That was such a great job. Honestly, I cannot believe what our maintenance and custodial staff has done. Honestly, kudos and you know, really, we appreciate them and thank them, and it's just amazing. These are great, great things for the district. Thank you. I'm so glad you guys came to do this.
I think it needs to be noted, Brandon's only highlighting the last 2 months for the maintenance grounds and custodial teams, so this is going on year-round. We could have filled an hour worth of slides with all things that
Well, I hope you guys come back every year and give us at least the highlights, because I think that, you know, the community, the district, everybody should know what we're doing here. Because, you know, I was saying earlier that it's not just education, there's things that go along with this to make education happen. Great.
I look forward to tomorrow. I'm going to go around for the north side and see the buildings. I always am amazed at when we see them in July, because we were in, what was it, Sycamore, when we were doing interviews. And the hallways were filled with stuff, and I'm like, oh my God, they're never gonna be done. But you're always, every year, I get that, oh my God, are they gonna be done? And every year, you guys not only done, but you do an outstanding job. Really amazing work, and especially over the summer, when a lot of people are off and a lot of people are enjoying the heat, you guys are working through it. So thank you.
Yeah, I was going to add this up, you know, for board discussions, but, you know, since we did this now, the building walkthroughs, because I went last week to the south side, and what a job. And it's true, the pictures do not do it justice. I mean, that Sycamore gym, the gym that was there was the one I ran on, and I don't want to say how long ago that was, but it was long enough. And what a difference it makes the cafeteria at John Perot. Those tables, I mean, thank you for the amount of the work you did, saving us all that money and giving that experience to our own staff. It's wonderful. It really is. And please thank them all of them. We saw them doing the OBMS floor. We smelled the polyurethane in the gym, and they were working hard through the summer, through everything. The amount of steps to shine the floor, the hallways. I know, you know, they're saying the process now, but for the future, it'll be big and it'll be much better. But what a job, and thank you so much to all of you for your knowledge, expertise, and doing this all for the kids so that they can go there and they have a beautiful building to go into for the new school year. So thank you so much. It was incredible. And thank you for taking us. I love doing all that. So I'm looking forward to what I can, you know, try to make tomorrow. So thank you for letting us enjoy the work that you do. And to you know, thank you for it. It was really great.
Our pleasure.
You have to go to the microphone.
People are helping.
Thank you. Don't worry, I will. Wow, world's different down there. So I did reach out to all the heads and chiefs after a walkthrough the other day. I've been doing these for 17 years now. I've been doing board walkthroughs. You know, that's been one of my roles. And I can say without question, those 5 buildings showed better than any single walkthrough I've ever been on. So I'm very much looking forward to tomorrow. I have a feeling the north end is going to hold up just as well, and it's going to be one of those great opportunities to open the year with spectacular facilities. So,
Can you take us to see that those pottery things? That is fantastic. I'm dying to see it in person. So, all right, thank you.
So I do just want to also thank everybody for all their hard work. It's so much appreciated, and nobody really knows how much goes on behind the scenes. I do have a question. Sorry. As far as the playgrounds on John Pearl and Idle Hour. Oh, did you ask him?
No, not yet. I just asked him this at the SEPTA ice cream. I think you guys had left. I had asked him about the John Pearl when it was getting done.
Yeah, so if you can just give us an update on that. I know that it's a little outdated, and Idle Hour too.
No, I think
is
it's
it Basti?
I'll give you a playground update.
Is it Basti and John Pearl though?
So there's several things going on here, yes. We have in the 2019 capital project, there was a line item for district-wide playgrounds. So we've been working back and forth with the business office right now. We've been cleaning up the finances for that project, trying to find out exactly how much we have. It looks like we have enough money to address playgrounds. One of my recommendations, and I wish I could have the conversation with Dr. Sinamore privately first, but I do believe that the Pearl playground needs to be addressed. I believe the small playground behind the kindergarten atrium at Boston needs to be addressed. And I do think we need to consider using any other funds for UPK playgrounds in the buildings that have those programs. So with the board's permission, with Dr. Sanamore's permission, I would like to reach out to the architect in the coming days, if not, sooner, and say to him, these are projects I'd like to see designed so we can submit them to the state, go through that lengthy review process, and try to get them in place for next summer. That would be my hope.
So I have this great idea. Why don't we take a look at our finances, see what we have left, and let's invest in our playgrounds for our children. What do you all say?
That's a great idea.
That's my recommendation.
Where are you at?
I will be making phone calls tomorrow.
I had brought it up.
Thank you.
I had asked him, it was at SEPTA, wasn't it at SEPTA? Poor John had to look, I had to bother him there. I'm like, let's eat some ice cream and I have something to ask you.
Was that not a politically correct answer I gave you?
I thought it was.
I hope so.
And I said I was going to bring it up here, so it was good
And
that
that's
she
fair
said
enough.
something because I totally forgot.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Mr. Weisberg, thank you so much.
Thank you both. I also want to add that we are looking to, looking at the central office lobby. Every school has a more formal type of secure vestibule, and it's time to look at this building. I put a communication out to the board. I know you're getting some some various pricing on that, but it is something using transfer of capital funds, not general funds, that we do want to look to move forward to, look forward with later this year. 5 seconds on that. Ready? Go.
But didn't we do something like that at PPS? Didn't we had, when I walked in that time, I said it wasn't, and you were able to do it right there too.
Well, the advantage we had when we did the work at Pearl was BOCES was paying for it.
Ah, okay.
So one of the conditions of making the move from Prem over to Pearl was that BOCES paid all of the fees associated with those renovations and everything else.
Okay.
So that said, if we were to have Don Flynn I don't know, is Don here? Oh, there we go. Don would say emphatically that getting something in central office is an important component of security for the district. The key is trying to figure out the best way to do it in the space we have within the funds that we have too. So we're looking at a couple different scenarios right now. I think we got to fine tune both of them, but I'm going to be able to present Dr. Senamore some real numbers this week so that we can actually figure out how to steer those conversations and what will be the best for the district as a whole. And hopefully we'll have some more information to share on that in the coming weeks. Sorry, it wasn't 5 seconds.
No, you're good. Thank you so much. Committee reports. Does anybody have anything to report on the committees?
I'll just add something really quick that we had another Community Wellness Day meeting and Dr. Senamore did speak on this already. So thank you. Community Wellness Day, September 14th at the library, public library from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. There'll be vendor tables, mindfulness events, a little karate for the kids that they can have fun with. You might even be able to, learn how to break a board. And it's really going to be fantastic. There'll be some food vendors, music. We have a lot going on, and what a fantastic committee we have with people from the mental health department. Really, really excellent, some teachers, and it's really going well. So I hope to see many, if not all, community members there on September 14th. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else have anything? Okay, Board of Ed topics. We have discussion updates from the grant writer and BOCES supply costs.
It was it was supposed to be added to the public, but we had agenda setting very late. So it was discussed, just as a follow-up. There was emails about it, and just to follow up with the conversation from the last meeting. Those were outstanding items that the board had requested information on. Admin said that they'd get it to you, so it's just now addressing that.
I understand, but why isn't it on? I just got this today. This is today's copy.
Right, I didn't make the change to the agenda. I did put it on Marisol's cheat sheet just as a reminder to bring it up.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Jesse.
Yeah, it's just an update from the prior conversations.
So Christina, Poppy?
Ready? Regarding the grant writer, we made a bit of headway in that process. Dr. Sanamore, Mr. Kolahifar, and I sat down with two potential writers, or a writer and a writing entity, I guess we can call it. And we talked with them about what we were seeking as a district and heard from them about the service that they would be willing to provide. So we are continuing the discussion with that individual and that grant writing entity in order to kind of narrow the playing field in terms of meeting what the district needs and what their sort of requests and their process and protocols are. So we are very much engaged in discussions regarding grant writing, and as soon as we have another update to share, we'll certainly share that with the board.
Thank you. And BOCES supply costs?
I do have a spreadsheet to share with the board this evening of the generalized supply costs that are related to all of our CTE programs for BOCES. These lists include all the way up to certification exams, as well as kits and materials and supplies, uniforms, shoes, et cetera, that are required for these programs. So I'll send them down.
Are you guys, is there some kind of way you guys are doing this? Like, how are people whose children are in need of some sort of support or help, how are they supposed to get in touch? Is it going to be through some sort of, are you guys going to put out some sort of flyer? Is it going to be through online? Is it going to be through BOCES? Because I know that we have the money to supplement some of the costs for some of the students, especially those in need for their equipment.
Correct.
How are you guys, I should say, how are you deciding on who's getting that? Is there a way that you guys are going about it so that we can make sure that the students that really are in need are first in line?
Yes, 100%. So a little bit of background on that. We do have a very preliminary approval through our state grant approver and reviewer in order to spend some of our remaining ARP funding, which is the grant that does expire on September 30th, for this purpose. And the proposal to the reviewer indicated that we would serve students who are in need. And so in order to do that, we're going to use a few different parameters. First, we have to look at all of the students who have been accepted to programs and who are participating in CTE programs, obviously, and then reviewing those lists for a few different indicators on their registration relative to their eligibility for free and reduced lunch or SNAP or Medicaid. And then we also know that there is some familial need that certainly our counselors are aware of, and they are communicating that information actively. Mrs. Yoni Kohler, who is our Director of Guidance, is compiling all of that information, and she has just begun to share it with my office. So we'll be moving quickly within the next couple of weeks to secure the complete approval through the state reviewer for the expenditure of monies. And then, of course, we do have a budget that we're able to work with. So things are starting to align. I just received that preliminary spreadsheet today. But if families have specific concerns, of course, they can reach out to their counselor, or to Mrs. Yoni Calder directly, or they can reach out to my office directly in order to be included in that list. The only piece of this that I do believe I should mention is that because of the timing of the grant, should we receive approval for this expenditure, we won't be able to cover the cost of the certification exams that you see in that, I think it's the final column, second to last column, because those exams won't occur until the end of the program. We'll be able to front the upfront costs relative to the required components of each of those programs that are listed in the second column on that sheet.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you going back and, taking care of this and finding the money. I have another suggestion, and, I'm not sure, I know our community always comes together and there's a lot of things on social media, something where we can do, adopt a child. And that families that are in need, maybe, I know the school district can't, but maybe the community themselves would want to do something where people, I know are always willing to donate and give and do things, that people who, don't qualify for the need, maybe they also could, if they need something, could reach out and, I'm just putting it out there.
I actually, that to me is something that you'd have to go through a PTA or something like that. I would be more apt to say, and I've seen this done in other districts. I believe, and you'd have to look into it, Seaford brought in a CTE program right into their schools, which is what I've been advocating for. Seaford has their, I believe it's electrical, but don't hold me to it. They brought in some of those the same way BOCES has, and they're doing it at their building. That being said, they got, my understanding from other districts and other board members, they got funding from different businesses that had nothing to do with the school. What they did is these businesses put it out there that if any students in their district was doing something, they were going to give almost like a tuition or like a scholarship for that. And they gave them money towards the program. But with that, they had the kids work part-time at that. So they got a hands-on, because that's the other thing that people don't understand. These kids go to this and some of them may like it, but until you're hands-on with something, and that's what I was saying to April in executive, when she said, oh, people read books, Jackie, books are what we learn from. Yes, books we learn from. But what people don't seem to understand is, I'm never going to go get an operation from a doctor who read books. I'm going to get an education from a doctor who read those books, applied them, and then had hands-on training and did those surgeries. Isn't everybody going to do that? Doesn't everybody want the best of the best? People who've been through it before? I feel like these kids could get a few different things. If we worked with the high school where we have, I know I don't want to say her name, Mrs. Rapone, I know she does a great job with bringing in kids, getting kids with jobs. It's like different jobs she puts them in contact with. If you had something like that where these jobs were willing to help pay for these different kind of things that are in their field, knowing that these kids were then going to come work there. It's like an internship. But
So a couple of things. Internship. So in September, I think on September 10th, we're going to be recognizing students who had summer internship experiences. Right now, we're looking at BOCES hardships and how to address hardships. I know Ms. Poppy reached out to BOCES directly as well. It was brought to our attention that somewhere there was some grant that was provided, so we're also tapping into that as well to get some further guidance. The conversation about bringing CTE type programs in-house has been ongoing since I got here. I know the high school, has ideas such as cosmetology. I know we've had conversations about various CTE type programs. We know electrical is very big. We know HVAC is huge. This will be a theme for our Thursday night conversation as well. I know that the high school administration, Mr. Allen, Mr. Weisberg actually walked the building fairly recently with Ms. Howes and Ms. Poppy, just to look at some spaces. So we are pursuing these ideas as a joint effort. Certainly the high school administration looking to take a lead. And, it's a collaboration between, the business office with the funding, the facilities department, curriculum. These are learning spaces, and it's a multifaceted approach.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Poppy.
Thank you so much for the information.
Now we have night school, Ms. Napolitano-Furno.
That is really just a bunch of parents had reached out, and I wanted to touch base on it. While they're extremely happy with their current admin for the night school, and they were very clear on that. They wanted me to make sure that I said that specifically, that they are very happy that over the summer they were able to contact their principal, their night school principal, and she got in touch with them. Well, they said that within minutes, within an hour, she was constantly in contact with these kids. I appreciate that, and I want to say thank you, because that was first what the parents said. Second, what they brought to me was, and I brought to administration, was that there were kids left out last year and now this year in regards to school photos, senior photos. I had heard that happens there's someone who takes care of that during the day at the school. That needs to be also the same people that handle it at night. Because my understanding is there's only a couple of seniors each year, and these seniors are being left out. And then one said that last year, it was like a shotgun to get him a picture, and then it was like a rush. That should not be. Senior pictures was a great experience. I actually came and watched a couple of the kids getting pictures, and I stood outside the lunchroom door to not be a stalker or anything, but I was there and I wanted to see how, and everyone looked like they were having the best time. It was nice. It was, that's how it should be for all students. Just because kids go to night school for whatever the reason is, they should still be included. And I want to make this very clear in every single senior activity. If you are a senior, you are included. We cannot say we are inclusive and then exclude. I understand people say to me, oh, it was an oversight. Oh, the day people didn't realize it. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. The children should not, every senior in our district should have the best senior year, and that includes night school kids, 100%.
In response to that, we are redoubling our efforts to check and double check our lists, our rosters, because occasionally that alternative high school roster does change throughout the school year to ensure that the communication and messaging is as consistent as it possibly can be for those children. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to make sure that they're also encouraged. I know that they may not want to. I mean, this is, like I said, there are kids who go to day school and don't want to go on trips. But I want to see every child encouraged that can and wants to go on the trips, wants to be included in senior activities. Because your senior year, I know when I graduated, 1996, a long time ago, I just want to say it was the best year. It was the best year. I look back at my yearbook all the time, seeing pictures. It's hilarious. I love it. I love the year, and I want every student here to have that experience. I know that it's not always easy, ninth grade, transitioning. 3 of us right here have kids going in ninth grade. It's going to be a tough year, transitioning. We understand that. But your senior year, I hate to say it like this, you rule the school, but you should enjoy it. It should be an incredible year. And that includes for night school kids.
Now, I know, which I didn't realize that they didn't have pictures, but senior photos for this year, I believe, were taken already. Were those students included in that this year?
The alternative high school principal did make contact with the 2 seniors who were enrolled in that program at the time and ascertained whether or not they wanted to participate in senior photos. And my understanding is they made it in, or I think one wasn't interested in participating. But it was done in a timely fashion so that there wasn't a missed opportunity.
I believe that it occurred in the second round in the retakes, but in the original, they were overlooked.
Thank you, Ms. Poppy, for ensuring that. I do agree every student should be included in every activity. school calendar, Ms. Napolitano for now.
So school calendar is actually school calendar and financial budget questions, because it all goes together. So, and I have it here like this. So with the school calendar, people had requested paper calendars. I like a paper calendar, but we had seen that last year we had excess positions and people, and it wasn't the year, obviously, that you're going to look into sending out paper calendars. So my request is that every building have printed calendars already printed. The ones that are printed in the paper copy, like Jesse, you guys printed, which was incredible. Thank you. I understand it's not a calendar like where you hold it up, but like I did, you put a hole in the top, you put it up on, it still looks like the calendar, it's paper, but I feel like it's something. I love the calendars, but I also would not excess bodies and bring back calendars. That's at least me. I do love having calendars though. So I would like to see calendars printed, not like everyone said, if they're requested. I want them printed and put in every building vestibule. So like, even if it's 10 at a time or 20 at a time, because I feel like people will see it and take it. Some people will just not think about, let me call up and ask to have it printed. But if it's there, they will take it and utilize it. And I think that's a good thing. The second thing is,
Well, I just want to say about the calendars, just really quick.
Go ahead.
I do agree with the community member last year who pointed out that the Bayport School District gets businesses in the area to fund their calendar. I know we were thinking about looking into that. I really love the calendar too. I loved seeing the pictures back in the day of all the kids. And I really think we should look into that, because if businesses are willing to pay, and you know, Bayport is a smaller district, but if we have all these businesses willing to donate and create the calendars for our district, I don't know why, to me, that's a no-brainer, you know, we should be doing it.
I thought that wasn't allowed. Wasn't that something we looked into?
So we did look into it.
Yeah.
It's actually their Chamber of Commerce that does it. So while there are school activities on the calendar, it is actually a Chamber of Commerce product. So we did look into that, and at that point in time, right, it's then coordinating with I don't even know if we have chambers of commerce, but we talked about possibly doing with like each civics, and all three of them. And I mean, I'm not really sure where the conversation was, but the conversation at least has been started.
Well, there were parents also who they liked that some of the calendars, the last page of the calendar had a list of all the phone numbers, like a directory, which would be nice to add to the calendar we have. I mean, I got the copies, and I actually went around Ronkonkoma and delivered a bunch to people's mailboxes, the ones you gave me. So I know there are people who want them, but a lot of people just don't know how to get them. Or they're like, oh, I don't want to bother anybody. That's why I'm saying if they're in the vestibules, and if we could add to the last page what used to be in a regular calendar, which was a directory of like all the different, like, okay, this is the athletic department's phone number. This is the, you know, like all the different department numbers. I get it that you can Google it and stuff. It is nice to have them.
Why don't we take a look at the website and see, I don't know if we have on the website a master list of departmental numbers. If not, then maybe what we could do in the short term is just take this theme of the last page of the calendar and just create it for at least for the website.
So I actually don't know that there's a master list on the website. I have tried looking for it.
Okay.
I know if you go into the individual schools, you can get the individual phone numbers for that school, but that does become cumbersome if you just want one location with all the phone numbers.
Unless we make a directory page with all of which we had years ago.
Yeah.
When I first got on the board, there was a directory. Make a flyer and put that right next to the calendar, my pile of calendars in each school, and let people have that emailed to everybody to print themselves, but also make hard copies. I mean, I'll be very honest with you. As a parent, I have called up both of my schools, and now it's one school, and I still get paper everything. So when everybody gets their report card, I'm that person who requests, as a parent, paper report cards. Because I like putting them on my fridge. I like it to be printed for me because I'm not as technically savvy as others. And I like all that. So I know there are other parents like that. If you have a paper one made and you can email it to the whole school, and then on top of it, put that in our schools, in the vestibules, so when parents or children need it, they can get it, or in CO. I think people would come pick things up if they knew it was there versus them requesting it and making that phone call.
Yeah, I agree. I'd like to piggyback, though, on that, Dr. Centimore, that I do agree with parents that have written in. You can go to your child's schedule, then go look and find the email of each teacher. But I would love to see on our website a directory of every
It's
single
contractual.
teacher that.
It's a contractual issue.
Oh, is that what it is?
It's a contract. Look, Jesse, go ahead. April, only reason I'm saying this is because 6 years I've been trying to get this. 6 years I've been trying to.
So you're telling me that there's in the teacher's contract, it says we can't give emails?
Reza, can you speak to this?
Yeah. I wanted a list of every teacher's email. So like, if you know your teacher this year is Joe Schmo, what's Joe Schmo's email? You can go on the list and you see, it's Jay Schmo,
Joe Schmo's email is jschmo@ccsdli.org. Yeah. So,
But the challenge is that sometimes people don't know their teachers' first names. There might be spouses that work together with the same letter, so.
Yeah, but listen, I'm for having
Farrell,
it on there, but I
right,
know
Lisa
we can't.
Farrell, for example, is actually Lisa Farrell at Gmail. I'm sorry, not at Gmail, it's CCSD.
There was a Linda Farrell.
Right,
that
well, no,
worked.
she is actually at Gmail too, but that's a different story. The contract does not allow us to print publicly teacher emails on the websites or distribute them to the public. So this has been an ongoing discussion point with the CTA, and unfortunately, we are not able to do that.
I guess I would like to understand, I mean, I can't believe that we wouldn't want the community to know that.
April, I can't believe me and you agree on this. Yes.
110%. I mean.
I don't disagree with you,
contract.
but it is, an item that has been brought up time and again with the teachers' union, and
You got to read the teacher's
union.
contract and know it, because there's a lot on it that we should know. Okay, going back to my financial questions, because they go with the school calendar, because I reached out to Dr. C, to Mr. Hauser, just to send yesterday questions for transparency, so that today they could be answered. They were not answered. They were done the correct way. You send your questions, and then they get answered at the board meeting in public. So here it is. We have accessed, people think we access 7, 8, 9 people. That's actually not true now. So now I'm being told that, and Reza, this I might need you first. The accessing, we gave pink slips to people, told them they were accessed, and now it's like 1 or 2 people, if that.
So the grand total ends up being 5 people. It's 3 elementary people, 1 phys ed person, and 1 science person who were accessed at the end of June.
Okay, now it's, okay.
Since then, 2 of the 3 elementary teachers were offered positions as leave replacements, full year leave replacements. So they are going to continue working with us. The 1 PE person is on tonight's agenda to be appointed as a 0.6 FTE. So it's not a full-time position, however, it is work. And the science teacher, that position was in fact accessed. That person I know had taken a job in another district, but that position in fact was eliminated.
So technically, how many bodies left our building? 2?
2.4.
Okay, so 2.4. I just have to say this. Next year, which is May, I know that this is a hard request, but before we start giving out pink slips to people and accessing them, which by the way, I understand with state aid being cut 100%. It bothers me to know that these people probably had some very hard nights and very hard days with their families. You know, it's their livelihood. And then they're getting their jobs back.
Jackie, I've been there where people were. I have been accessed. I know exactly what they're going through, but there are law requirements notification requirements by law that we can't ignore. You know, a school year starts September 1, ends June 30th. If we are to access individuals, we have to, by law, notify them within 30 days of the board meeting that is going to approve the accessing, and they get 30 days afterwards. So there is an obligation that we are under that we have to notify people.
I understand this, but this coming year, I'd like to see us try to do better with if there's money we can pull from, I want to pull from that money rather than us accessing people, because here we go. We were able to not just find the money, but we had the money left from the year prior in the funds.
So a couple points. One person being accessed from any position is one too many. They're all part of our family, and we feel very strongly about that universally. Mr. Kohlhefer is correct about time restraints, both by law and via contract, that has to be adhered to. We were able to garner a very late retirement that we turned into savings a position or positions. And we also, our borrowing came back about 0.5% better than we had budgeted for. And that savings, we were quickly able to turn around and apply, to a retaining staff. And then we also had staff take leaves of absence. And I know it's not an official position, but it's another year of full employment and benefits that did happen late in the game. I agree. I used to do Mr. Kohlhefer's job as a personnel administrator, and those conversations are gut-wrenching. As superintendent of school, I own every decision. I get to make the fun ones about, hey, I'm recommending this person for a job. That's great. But then these, accessing type of recommendations, they come from me, and I own them, and I live with them every night. So I agree, but I also want you to understand, that we don't look at this very in an arbitrary and capricious way. When it comes to people's livelihoods and staffing, we take it very, very seriously, and that's one of the reasons we advocate. And again, to this board's credit, you advocate. Tonight's another example with a letter that you're approving. This board, this administration, I want to give credit to our other units as well. I know they're very active in their own advocacy, from teachers to the various support staff administrative units. They're very active in their advocacy as well. This is a year that everybody has to come together. They're changing the landscape of public education in New York State for at least a generation, if not for eternity. And if we're not careful, the four horsemen of the fiscal apocalypse are going to be, trotting down, Ocean Avenue. If they change this foundation aid formula on top of unrealistic, unfunded mandates that'll cost districts like us tens of millions of dollars on electric buses that can't even be properly, supported through the local grid, that is the cliff to end public education as we know it. So, this budget process across New York State, the state budget process, this foundation aid review, these mandates that are unrealistic, all right, we all have to come together. And because it's not just the ConnectQuad budget development, and it's not just the ConnectQuad staffing that's going to be, at stake here. It's public education as we know it, and the future fiscal landscape as we talk about sustainability.
Okay, my questions. What is happening with fund balance and expenditures this year, since we're at the end of this year? Are we running structural deficits?
So, Jackie, I didn't have a chance to watch the podcast that you had referred to when we spoke yesterday. Fund balance, as I speak right now, I'll use the word fluid because the books have not been closed for the year that ended June 30th. Mm-hmm. The auditors are working with us to close the books. We will not know the final numbers till I'll say mid September. So at that point, we'll have a better idea of what that fund balance where we ended June 30th.
I'll ask these questions, and if they're the ones that we should wait till September, then let me know.
Okay.
Okay, like, are there anomalies? What is access cost aid in this budget process?
Yeah, when you mentioned that word, and I think we clarified the word access, ACCESS.
Yeah, ESS.
I looked that up. I have never heard of that before. Well, I clarified it with you that it was an ACC. Oh, excess.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that is one of the excess costs, more or less in relation to high needs or
Yes.
classified students. That particular item is a separate aid component, and that's another variable that fluctuates with the amount of costs we've actually incurred versus the amount of aid that we will get in return for that.
What is our current fiscal status, so we have a baseline for all that is to come this year as we start the budget development process again in October?
So once again, we're obviously operating on a budget that we started to design, I'll say, in January of last year and finalized with the voters in mid-May. Okay, things change. Dr. Centimore mentioned just in particular some savings that we were able to achieve just with interest rates when we borrow money. I believe people are starting to see, even in a personal residential market right now with mortgages, you're starting to see the interest rates decline. We're going to see that when we go out to borrow money for a tax anticipation note in September. We're hearing that the rates are coming down, so that's positive, and that could be savings once it actually happens, and we know it. So things are fluid with the budget as I speak.
Are we ensuring that the funds are divided equitably across our district last year, this year? I want to make sure that the funds are being divided equitably.
So yes, they are. We tend to do, and I'll just give a basic example here with school supplies for each building. We tend to allocate those school supplies per student, each student that's enrolled in the particular building. And that's the allocation that we give each building. We don't give a dollar amount that's more per student or less per student per building. It's the same amount. So we do try to keep things as equitable as we can. And I don't know if you want to go into staffing. That's certainly another variable.
No, that's. Some start the budget process in October. I was speaking to people, and either early October or some in January. I know that we normally do in December. Is there a reason we don't do it sooner or we don't do it later? Is there?
So in the past, at least the 3 years that I have done the budget here, we've started that process in November. We're gathering and scheduling of the budget. We communicate with the individual buildings and departments in December, early December, with the expectation that they return information back to us before they leave for the break. And then typically we take the information in the month of January, disseminate it, and then we schedule individual meetings with those departments and buildings to clarify. And that's really when we start to actually, I'll call it, build the budget.
Let me just add to that. As a central office administration, we are always living in a minimum of 3 budgets. We are constantly reviewing the budget that we just completed from the prior school year. We are managing the current school year's budget, and we are planning, even if it's just a conversational piece on July 1st, we are planning the next year's budget already. So at a minimum, we are always living in 3 budgets.
What's our sustainability of this year's budget long-term? What outside sources can we tap into for fiscal help? Is there a funding source tied to any of these budget items that we're going to be going over?
So you're mentioning a key word, sustainability, in any budget, in particular a school budget. One of the items is state aid, and whether that's sustainable at the levels we've been experiencing. Dr. Centimore certainly highlighted foundation aid being cut, for last year. So I think when you look at our school budget and any school district's budget in terms of sustainability, you do have to look at it line by line, especially by revenue, to see which items are truly guaranteed, so to speak, which are not, which ones we can count on. So I would say for the most part, what we have done in the prior budget, we've looked at sustainability, but there are some unknowns that we just don't know at the moment.
When I was watching, that's what I was talking to you about the podcast, they had said, like, you need to look at the long-range financial planning and have a mindset of what does the future hold? What are the BOCES rates and the healthcare going to be? It's like, they had said it's like being a mini actuary, pretty much. And especially with this foundation aid issue, and this year could be a serious year financially for every school district across Long Island that doesn't get the aid that they need. We're talking big changes, and I don't think many people understand it really. But thank you very much.
But that also ties into, it's not just about the aid. You referenced healthcare. I said it earlier. We know that, even from, our employees that are just starting their careers, both at a TRS and ERS, Tier 6 doesn't make sense. It hurts. It hurts for recruitment. It hurts employees. You need all kinds of pension reform from Tier 4 through 6 that'll benefit employees as well as the financing of school districts. The healthcare, the rates constantly skyrocket. You have even insurance, the insurance for the school districts. We're taking a close look at that. The insurance premiums keep going up. The state has to look at everything in totality as opposed to certain things in isolation. All right, and that's a key theme that I keep driving. And I appreciate the fact that, this board has been very supportive of that.
So I have some questions that I just want to throw out there so that on Thursday they can be answered. They don't have to be answered tonight. For Mrs. Poppy, what is the 5-year instructional plan? I know we're going to be talking about plans. I'm not sure, is the cabinet going to be here Thursday?
So the cabinet, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, they were not. It was just going to be us, Dr. Centimore and
Well,
Jesse.
then maybe for the September meeting. I just want to know what's our 5-year instructional plan, if possible. I know I've been asking for 5-year plans from building principals, or that's what I'd like to see. And I know that it's been something that I feel like just gets kicked down the road.
Well, it's not being kicked down the road. Strategic planning starts with us, superintendent and a board. That conversation is starting Thursday. Curriculum, because again, that's our bread and butter, learning and teaching. So that'll be a big theme for Thursday night.
Okay, and what programs is the Board of Ed looking at to make the district better? How can we work that in as a long-range planning goal? How can we adapt to those changes in technologies and courses for the future with instructional, financial, solid, long-term plan? What is the labor market and contracts and benefits looking at that can impact our district 5 years down the road? These are all things that we seriously have to look into and really get a handle on.
Thank you. Ms. DiLorenzo, did you still want to talk about building walkthroughs or?
No, that's okay. I covered it earlier.
Before you
Thank
move
you.
forward, the one thing I do want to, not to beat a dead horse, I have a feeling that the email thing goes a little bit deeper than just a contract, because I know you could scrape emails and it's a cybersecurity risk a lot of the time. So I know my job doesn't list all of the providers' emails because of the reason that you don't want to leave yourself that open. I'm sure the contract plays a part, but there's probably more to it than that.
I think the issue is, and I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that this is what was said years ago. So years ago, it was said that the reason was because those emails are for when they are at work. And when they're I'm using off duty like I'm a cop, when they're not working, when their day is done, they technically don't have to. It's contractual. It actually says in the contract what they have to do. But they have 24 hours to.
Section 12 of their contract, if you guys want to take a look at it.
So,
There's a few paragraphs
bless you.
about it.
So I think that what people don't understand, it has nothing to do with cybersecurity.
Well, no, I think
because
what I'm saying is,
I hate to say this, but my email is all over the internet for schools as a school resource officer. Anybody can get my email at any time. It's not,
correct.
It has nothing to do
My
with
question
cyber.
is, does the contract read that they are not expected to answer emails off hours, or that we are That's what I'm saying, right? Like, obviously, that's not fair, right? They're not working. They don't have to answer, but like,
People should be entitled to have their, as a parent in the district, I didn't know, for instance, I didn't know my son's guidance counselor's email. So when I was away, we were missing calls, playing phone tag. He was awesome, but at the same time, I couldn't email him because I didn't know his first name. And to be honest, I wasn't able to go on the parent portal because I didn't have that kind of Wi-Fi. So I said, I'll get back to him when I get back. But it was like 3-4 days later. And at that point, he had left me a few messages. I'm just saying, I felt bad because it's things like that. If you don't have their email and you don't have their first initial, it's not as easy as everybody thinks to just find the email. Or if you don't know how to spell their last name. Like, not everybody's last name sounds the way it's spelled. So while I understand the contract, and that's why I let April know, because not to be, like I just said to Marisol, I know people don't like to acknowledge experience, but there's history. And all it takes is every person on this board should have read the teacher's contract. You need to know the teacher's contract. If no other, you should know everybody's contract, but you really need to have some understanding of theirs because there is some solid wording in there that has a lot of protections. And that, you don't want to get grievances. So you have to be aware of what it says. Do I agree with the email passage in there? No, it was there long before I got on the board. But are we going to be able to get rid of it tonight? No. Contractually, it's there. So we need to find a way, though,
right. That's my point, is that we kind of just like talked about what the issue is and then came up with zero solution for it and kind of moved on, right? Like we can't do a directory.
We said make a
what
paper.
can we do?
Make a paper and send it to everyone. If we had something, what parents are looking for, as a parent in the
That's what I'm
district.
saying. How is it okay to have the paper but not the webs? Like, this is where my confusion is coming
But listen, sometimes with contracts, you have to find the loopholes.
I can just read the line from the
Yeah, go ahead.
contract. That might be helpful. Again, this is section 12 of their contract. It's on page 12. And it says, this is the full sentence. The district will ensure the use of appropriate spam filters and will not electronically publish the email directory. So it does specify electronically publish the email directory.
Okay. Thank you. So I have added monthly updates. I just thought that we have student government come up and give us an update, and I thought it would be a good idea to have SEPTA and PTA Council maybe once a month come up and give us an update. I don't know how the board feels about that, but I just thought that that would be a good idea.
I think it would be nice to invite them to a board meeting and see. I don't know that every board meeting that they'll all be able to make it with their own, they have a lot of things going on, but absolutely invite them. Maybe one of their representatives can come. But if you're going to do that, I highly suggest, and that goes for student government too, they should always be first.
Absolutely.
Deb, I got to be honest with you. Did student government already leave?
They weren't assigned yet. The school year didn't start, so they don't actually.
Because in reality, people don't want to sit here and listen to all of the business. Years ago, we had public comment in the beginning, and then it got, board members kicked it back again. I believe we should have public comment in the beginning, and you do a half an hour of open comment, whatever they want to bring up, and you limit it to 30 minutes. So that's 10 people, 3 minutes each. And at that point, you could have all the people, you could have them go first, have student government. Student government should always go first because student government should be able to get home, to do their homework or whatever first. Second, have all the PTAs that want to come and share, or SEPTA or any of the other, ORBA, whoever wants to come and wants to be a part of it. They may not want to come every single meeting. Maybe they want to come every other month, every month, once a month, whatever the case may be.
Right, that's what I was saying, like monthly, student government doesn't go every time either, like whenever, it would be nice just to hear updates periodically.
Absolutely, but I also think it would be beneficial for us to have a public comment speaking in the beginning of our board meeting. Whether it's right after our first presentation, then you have 30 minutes, then you do the rest of the business, then you have another 30 minutes. People don't want to wait until 10 o'clock and I am going to say this. I said this 5 years ago, I'll say it again, and I said it, you can see it on public board meetings. I did not like that I felt that people pushed it off to the end, whoever was for it like that, because I felt that what it did is it made people get tiresome and not want to be here, and then they'd leave, so then they wouldn't have to hear the gripes. I want to hear the gripes. I want to hear what's really going on. We don't give parents that. I heard from many parents that they would come if they were able to talk right when they got here. People did not want to sit here for 3 hours and listen to all of this.
But no, I agree. I could have sworn we brought this up last year, and I thought you were against it.
Not against.
I am definitely for letting
I'm not
public
against
speak.
pushing public speaking,
Yeah,
public comment.
100% I'm for it.
Why don't we consider, just another thought, we have two sections already, one for consent agenda, then one at the end. Why don't we add a section? Because then some people may want to actually comment after they hear us speak or after our presentation, just to give people, the people that don't want to talk about what's on the agenda, get it off the chest, whatever they have to do, and then have another section so people can hear what we have to say and have an opportunity to speak on it. You may have some nights where you'll have no speakers for either one, or they'll be split up now. I don't know that it would necessarily add any.
I agree.
Meetings.
I would be for adding one.
Adding a section instead of
Not for
moving it, just
taking the one
adding.
away, because the one, I just felt that if you had two, I've never been a fan of the consent agenda. I've always been, and I understand that that's how it's done, I get it, but I've always said, I like having two, and you can come up and talk about consent agenda, you can come up and talk about anything you want. It gives people the opportunity to speak. How many times the consent agenda, nobody speaks?
Right.
Okay, if I could just make a comment on that.
Yes, of course.
So we do have a board policy, policy.
Yes, we can amend it.
1230, public comment at board meetings, and it does state that a public period not to exceed 30 minutes shall be set aside up to 2 times during a regularly scheduled meeting. So just with that policy in mind, you guys would have to amend, you would have to revise that.
Well, what if we kept it at 2?
Right,
Just keep it at 2 and make it consent agenda end. Make it an open public comment. So consent agenda, this is a public comment for consent agenda and any issues that you'd like to bring up to 30 minutes. Then do another one. So it kind of makes it like this. The first 10 people who get the numbers, they're the first 10 people that'll probably get the, unless they're a little
Yeah,
bit
but not
short.
everybody does their.
No, I understand. And listen, the truth of the matter is, we have 2, 4, 5 people here right now. We had 7 before. So in the reality, at a traditional board meeting, we do not have that many speakers. I just think it's a nice thing to make it so people don't have to sit here all day.
I'm for it.
Agreed.
Okay, so if I could just get a little bit of guidance, just for like our next meeting. When you say you want it before, is that, right after we do roll call? If we have recognitions, do you want it after those recognitions?
Yeah.
So basically, student government goes typically, if they usually don't come into the last meeting in September, the second meeting in September, that's usually the first meeting that they attend. They usually add discussion items are the first to go, and then it's the superintendent's update, and then it's any presentations and such along. So are you fine with putting that
that 30 minutes
before the discussion items, that public comment open and consent agenda public comment period right
Yeah, I'm
before?
okay with that.
Me too.
I would even put it before policy, because
Yeah, me
sometimes
too.
we could spend a long time discussing policies, just in case. I mean, we might not, but
I would like it right
maybe right after the minutes.
Yeah, I would like the student government and acknowledge, if we're doing like awards to people, I want to do it after that, obviously.
Right.
But I want to do it before we
Like
start
getting into
business.
the real meat of the.
Because I feel like there are people who are like, Jackie, I don't come because I would love to come and speak my mind, but I can't because I don't have a babysitter until that time, or I don't want to leave my kids home at 9 o'clock at night, but I would leave them home at 7:30 until 8:30. Like, some people, I understand that.
I am okay with before discussion items, because sometimes people want to hear the policy and speak on that. So I'm okay with before discussion items.
Well, but they could speak at the next one.
Yeah, but then that's again making them wait. So that's why for me, I think before discussion items is perfect, because it doesn't take too long to get through those first 2. And depending on it, there's usually not that many there.
Right, we don't usually also,
Right,
it's not like
yeah.
every meeting we have a policy up there. All right, so I'm gonna just add to the templates moving forward. If you guys could just tell me yes, so I have a general consensus, that I'm moving the, changing the regular consent public comment. I'm changing that to an open public comment period and moving that prior to discussions.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Just to circle back to your original discussion point, I like the idea of having the PTAs and everything come in, but I think that we need to make sure it's organized and like respectful of their time. Like this is how it kind of would fall off if it's just like, yeah, like you guys are able.
Well, no,
to
my
come to
idea
update,
was
right?
the PTA council, so that we don't have 10 PTAs sitting
That's
in
what I was
our
saying. Like I was
audience. Right.
imagining this getting a little bit chaotic and then falling off eventually.
Then why not
Well, so
us give you direction to contact PTA council, SEPTA president, ORBA president, ask them if they would like one of themselves or a representative to come to every meeting, every other meeting. But I would ask them what is there. They may say, we only want to come every 3 months or every 2 months or whatever the case may be. I would go with what works for them because these are all volunteers too. Remember that.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah, of course.
Maybe, because again, I think getting SEPTA and PTA council, it might not work for them, at the same night. So if you just have a monthly standing spot where if they're available or they have a representative available to come, then they can come, but they don't have to come every time.
Right.
I like that.
Right.
So yeah,
Because there are times where student government has a slot, but they're not here. Like,
right, or they have like
Or they
one
have
little
nothing to
comment
say, right.
Yeah. So I think and that way it's consistent. They know when it is, as opposed to trying to piecemeal this all together.
No, that's great.
So I don't know, Marisol, if you want to reach out to them, or should I just like move forward with that? Should I contact them? You want? We could, I guess, discuss the specifics afterwards.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Thank you. Does anybody have anything on board topics before we move on to the next? All right, so we have the mascot. So legal is looking to add to their funds. They are almost at the end. And we are considering a motion to approve or withdraw from the litigation. If anybody wants to comment.
I want to comment. I'm obviously going to be for. When we first got into this lawsuit, I was very strong belief that we should go up to 50,000. At the time, actually, you were on the board. I was very clear with that. 25 was not going to probably be enough, knowing how law works and how legal attorneys and attorney fees work. Now that we are in with 5 other districts, 4 lawsuits, 5 other districts. It's being said that if we went up to 25,000 more, it would probably be enough for everything, since we're already past a lot of different expensive expenditures we would have to put out. I personally would be for putting the 25,000 into this, then spending. We got a number. I know the number was amended. Originally, the number was like, you got the. Yeah, originally, what was the original number though? 700 or 600? It was over 500,000. They then gave us another number saying to have the mascot changed. So to have the mascot changed, no, it's over 300,000. It's 347,000.
No, it's like 490.
What do you have? I had it on here and it was 600. Well, there was like 3 different ones.
So a combination of athletic equipment, uniforms is a big number, signage, gym floors. Right now, you're from the facility
What
standpoint.
was the first number you gave us?
Well-
You remember it was 600?
So
I'm trying to find it.
the number we're at right now is approximately.
Yeah, I thought it was 700.
That was the very
Right.
first
Thank
one we
you.
got.
708,000.
All right,
on,
but
but-
that's,
The amended number, Dr. Senamo.
an amended number went out the other day because they had an opportunity to take a closer look, particularly at the uniforms, because some uniforms were recently replenished. And so there was a logo adjustment already made. So, there was a number a couple weeks back of about 700,000 uniforms, athletic equipment, gym floors, other types of signage. Right now, we're at about, 490, 500,000 approximately. That's where we're at right now.
Okay, so my understanding is if the regulation gets thrown out, if we win that, then we would be able to keep Thunderbird or T-Bird, whichever one we won. The reality is it's a $25,000 increase or it's a $495,000 increase. For me, it's a no-brainer. I'm gonna go with the $25,000, especially since I feel that there's a case.
So a couple weeks ago, I asked the district to put together a cost analysis for us so I could weigh out, which one is more expensive or how much we'd have to pay. Again, it's just an analysis. The numbers aren't etched in stone, so I want to make sure we know that all right now because they could be higher or lower. Altogether, this will be $50,000. As many of you know, I went to Connecticut. I am a T-Bird. I will always be a T-Bird just because for me, I graduated that way. I also believe, like many, that we are honoring the Native American community by using the T-Bird instead of going against them, as they say. With that said, I do not feel we should be wasting another $25,000 because legal did give us an update and they cannot tell us that for sure we're going to win this case. So I can't see wasting now another $25,000, altogether $50,000, and then losing and having to pay the money again for the mascot. So because of that reason, I am going to be a no to move forward with this lawsuit. And I understand that as community members, we want to be T-Birds, we want to keep it. Just, as a board member, we have to be fiscally responsible. And, we as a community pay our taxes. So I am just saying that I don't want to see us have to pay more money than we already have.
I have a question. I know that the idea of grants came up, and a while back, I believe, I don't know if it was you, Jackie, somebody said that I think Alexis Week was working on trying to secure a grant for school district change, and I believe
No money yet.
there's nothing. So that 500,000, that's on us. So we back out of this suit, and that's what we're paying. So it's a difference, either 25,000 or the 25,000 for a chance, which I too believe is a good chance, or 500,000. And, erasing our wonderful, incredible history. So,
The attorney,
no-brainer
I
for
wish,
me as
I
well.
wish we would have invited the attorney here, that attorney, I know, not you, Mr. Spencer, I know, like, the attorney that's doing that, because they seemed very confident that there's a case. If they weren't confident there's a case, they wouldn't have four other districts, and it's five altogether, so it's 4 total. They wouldn't have 4 other districts who, by the way, I feel their mascots, no offense to them, are 100% more of when people say what's offensive. I'm fine with all of them, but I could see theirs being, like, I know other districts who had theirs and changed them right away. They had no choice but to. I know professional teams that had those names and changed them right away. I do not see why we would change Thunderbird when there's the Air Force Thunderbirds. There's the Thunderbird vehicle, like Jackie said, Jackie D. There are so many different reasons. We have, for years, honored the Thunderbird. It is technically an eagle mascot. So, no, the actual mascot is an eagle, just so everyone understands. That mascot that we have that walks around, the costume, is a mascot eagle. That's what I know the AD who ordered it, and she said it was an eagle when she purchased it. So I just don't see why we wouldn't fight, especially when, and I have to tell you that we didn't give our community any information. I know that this was put on the agenda, but people are running around summer. I guarantee you, we sent a survey and we asked our community members, the ones that we represent, what they would prefer. I can tell you now, They came in full force the last time and they spoke up. People who don't agree with me on anything else, they agreed with me on the mascot.
Okay, so I also, T-Bird, love it, I hope it works out. I took time to do like a lot. I have a couple of problems. One, the numbers we got are just like a literal Word doc with absolutely no context as to where those numbers came from, is my first problem. So it's just like, yeah, we're just, for sure, it's this much for this. When I was reading it, and I can be corrected if I am wrong, like on here we have the cost of the gym banners, which is a lot of money, and a lot of that I'm assuming is the ones like we've won, things like that, which from NYSED, any legacy or memorial items that are considered historical artifacts, we don't need to change those. It's recommended that they're placed somewhere that it's more of something to look at and like learn about, but they are not required to be changed. So that's a huge cost coming off of that. It just feels like this was thrown together. I also might just be jaded. I feel like, of course, the law firm is going to tell us they have a good chance at winning because like we're going to keep spending money then. And I didn't feel she was confident enough today is the thing, because it felt as though she kind of slipped something in at the end there that was like, oh, by the way, this is due by the end of the 24-25 school year. And if it's going to trial, like y'all are in some trouble then. Like it like kind of just felt like it was slipped in at the
I
end.
don't think you should be speaking. No, I don't think you should be speaking for legal. I think if you want to speak for legal, both of you, you should have had legal here and allowed her to speak. She was very confident in what she was saying. What you are repeating is not what was said in executive. So you'll have to excuse me. This is when the board president should be saying,
No, it's
you know what,
interpretation.
we
You
should
interpret
table
it
this
differently than us.
and have the person come and speak. They should be at that mic speaking and answering. Board members should not be saying, oh, she wasn't confident. She seemed pretty
Should
confident
they be
to me.
saying they're confident?
But how is that,
Jackie,
how is me
that's her-
saying she's
that's
not
her-
confident different than you saying she is confident?
That was
You're
her
also putting something
interpretation.
forward.
I think she should be here. I think she should be
I don't
here
disagree,
saying-
but then
I think you stating that, oh, she wasn't confident.
said I don't
Where
feel.
did she say she wasn't confident?
Disclaimer for all of the things I have previously said are my opinion and interpretation of what I heard. I am not speaking on behalf of legal.
Community should get to hear her speak.
I agree with you. I
She
actually
should have been out here, but you guys didn't ask for that because you guys don't like transparency. You like to hide everything in
God,
emails,
again,
and you
an
like to
opinion.
hide everything in the basement of this building. During executive. No, you guys.
A-okay with her being
doesn't
here.
want to do the
April.
arguing
Open meetings law.
anymore.
Open
Stop.
meetings
Let
law.
just
Read
each
it.
person speak.
April, open meetings law. Why
Melissa,
don't you
it's
tell
your
people?
turn to
Do you
speak.
know
Go
why
right
people
ahead.
foil us? Because your emails are all unbelievable.
I'm going to make a suggestion.
I'm just going to
that
finish
we
my
table
sentence
this
because
item.
I was
Hold on,
I
Ms.
was told that.
Durando, hold on, just let Ms.
I was told I'm
Zaragoza
not able
finish
to
her
speak.
statement first. Please.
The final part of what I was going to say was partially that I thought she should be here and we should have something more of an open forum for the community to actually, and because we've had people come up to here and public comment, make a statement, we can't respond, and then it kind of just keeps going. I don't think that we should make any moves yet as far as putting more money into this because I feel like it's not a fair decision to make without anything. This is my opinion. And I did a little bit of research. There's other states that have moved forward with this similar directive. It's not just New York. A big argument they've come forward with is like, we are representing this with pride. We feel prideful about it. We are respecting it. And that has been shot down probably 90% of the time.
Table it and have it next, have it September 10th and make sure the community is aware of how this board is split on the vote and let them come and speak. The people you represent, let them come speak. Not the 5 people that show up, but let the entire community have that choice. If they don't show up, then God bless.
I agree.
My vote's gonna be to up it. Yours could be not to, whatever it is. But I think the community should have an opportunity to show up. You guys do too much where you don't want the community to show up.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, matter of opinion.
So if I could just offer my opinion on this. I am not a T-Bird. My children are T-Bird, so I am T-Bird by association. I think that adding $25,000 to the litigation is a good investment to our community. We did do a survey last time, and the community responded to that survey. More than half wanted us to fight for this. So I would be for adding the $25,000 to the litigation, but that's just my opinion.
If I could just interject.
I'm okay with putting this till the September 10th meeting and having Sokolov come and speak
So there's a couple of things to keep in mind when you're having this discussion right now about your attorneys and whether or not to extend the retainer to a greater amount, right? So in terms of what's before you, right, the question is, do we add funds into essentially our account, right, so that we can proceed through this litigation? There's a couple of things you're going to want to know, right? The most important thing is, what is the strength of our case? And I think that's come up at this table. That's not a discussion that they're going to have with you in public, or at least they shouldn't, right? In terms of other items like litigation strategy, right? Potential witnesses and strategies as it relates to discovery practices and so forth. Again, these are not things that you're going to discuss in public, okay? Just by the sheer nature that you have a pending litigation, and these are things that could hurt your case, to be quite frank. A discussion in public would be more appropriate for, this is why we're pursuing it, and then the general nature, ins and outs of what's happening, right? The status of it. But again, general and matters that are already out in the public. So for example, documents that have been filed, complaints and so forth, defenses that have been raised. These are the types of things that are already in the public domain that they could discuss for the public that you might not be aware of it, right? Just because of the nature of it. But in terms of strategy and those types of things, again, those are things that, I'm not going to have to recommend it to them because they're going to do that already. But in terms of, for you as the board, just things that I would encourage you to discuss in executive session where privilege applies.
So then technically, waiting, would it matter? We should just then vote.
I would say
Then
this.
we would just roll call vote. You got a roll call.
If you have questions about the case and the board's role in it and the strength of the case, and these are important to you, right, because you don't know or you don't have the information, then you should ask those questions before you vote on extending the amount of money that the district is going to put into it.
Well, it's interesting. April said to me earlier, actually, and at the last meeting as well, that we didn't ask the questions for the policy. Yet this board met at 4:00 today for interviews and for this exact case. The attorney was sitting in front of us and said, does anyone have any other questions? We asked questions. If people had a question about strength or anything else.
We asked it.
Right, so it was answered. So then I guess, let's vote. Roll call.
Hold on. Is everybody okay with voting tonight? Melissa?
Are we not able to, I don't know how to word this the right way, if the community, because we're also talking about a survey that was given before any money was spent. And now money was spent, I just feel like we're spending their money, and then why are we not making sure that this is something they still want? People have changed, like other school districts, you've seen it, whatever it might be. My question being, can the community have a forum to submit questions that we can ask privately to be advised on how we can appropriately answer them publicly with what's within our realm? Does that make sense?
Can we get just to piggyback off of that, I'm trying to find it, but Jesse, you're way better at this than I am, much quicker. What questions were asked on that survey? Because I seem to remember things like how much would you be willing to spend or go, I don't remember exactly.
Before you answer that, what survey are you talking about, and in what forum was that survey
So the
discussed?
district released a survey, I think through SurveyMonkey. It was an anonymous survey that was put out prior to the board voting on this. They approved the initial $25,000 amount in September of 2023. So the survey went out prior to that. Again, it was from the district. Responses were anonymous. And the questions were, I'm going to paraphrase right now because I don't have it in front of me. Oh, Ms. Poppy has it in front of her.
So we issued it through Google. And the questions, there are only 2 questions, and they are you a Connecticut Central School District resident? Oh, no, there were 3, I'm sorry. And the options were yes or no. The next question was, with regard to Connecticut's Thunderbird mascot, please select one response from the choices below. I would like Connecticut to continue to use the Thunderbird mascot. I would like Connecticut to change its mascot. I do not feel strongly either way. And then the third question is, if the district is not able to continue to use the Thunderbird mascot, would you be in support of the district seeking a legal remedy with the state education department, such as a lawsuit, even if there is a cost associated? Note, there is not a current precise cost estimate, but legal fees could potentially be in the tens of thousands of dollars, depending upon the duration of litigation. Please select one response from the choices below. Yes, I would be in support of seeking a legal remedy. No, I would not be in support of seeking a legal remedy, or I do not feel strongly either way.
Results were that they wanted us to do the lawsuit. Can you?
They're right, it was skewed. Right. But I do agree with Jackie. I think we should table it and let the community come and.
No, I think we should vote. I think we should vote because now I think we should vote because it makes no sense. We didn't table for the lawyer. You guys didn't want to table a conversation last meeting for us to ask questions about a policy.
I just agree with you, though.
I'm okay with voting.
Yeah, you can vote. I just agree that the community should have a chance to.
The community should, but I say we vote. Because they're saying, because now Mr. Spencer's saying that it doesn't matter. If we bring the person, if we bring the person back, it doesn't matter. They're not going to be able to talk in public.
They cannot answer certain questions.
They're not going to be able to answer what we want them to in public.
Answer these.
I didn't mean the lawyer. I wanted community members to
You
come
run into
speak.
trouble when you try and paraphrase the lawyer, right? So, because I'm going to interrupt you. So, but there are certainly aspects of the questions that you have before you and that you're posing tonight that you're not going to be able to discuss in public. Okay, I think that's fair. There are certain aspects, to your point, that you could discuss in public. So to the extent you want to solicit input from the community or questions from the community to ask the lawyer, you can certainly do that. But in terms of reporting back to the community on those questions, there has to be a caveat there that they may ask a question, but they certainly may not get a response to it because of the nature of the question and the response.
I feel like our community spoke loud and clear at the survey. I'd be fine with giving another, but honestly, I feel like for $25,000, that's what we're arguing over. With all the money we have, and I hate to say it like this, in the last 5 years I've seen go out the window in things. This is not one that I think is not a strong case, personally.
Let me suggest this in terms of your strategy moving forward, okay? If you vote against the resolution authorizing more funds be committed toward the litigation, you are in effect abandoning the litigation, right? You're turning the faucet off, okay? If you vote in favor of extending the monies to be expended toward the litigation, then you're voting in favor of the litigation moving forward. Okay, in essence.
So
I just would like to, sorry.
I'm sorry. So essentially, if we vote no to extending that money, then we are then going to have to change our mascot. Is that the only pathway after that?
That's certainly the
Okay.
path that lays before you.
Which is
I just would like-
495, yes, okay, thank you.
I would just like to bring up one more thing that came up when we had this, speaking of this topic. Mr. Hauser, you did not put this in the budget for the extra 25. Can you just explain to the community where we'd be getting it from?
Didn't you and Dr. Centimore have a conversation about somebody?
It wasn't in public, so
I
I'm going to let
understand
him answer now.
that's not. There obviously there's money there.
Yeah, so we, as the year progresses, the budget revenues, expenses are analyzed. We have identified a potential savings that could be used to pay for the legal fees.
Thank you, Mr. Hauser.
Again, I just want to point out, I am not saying that I necessarily want to just nix the lawsuit and change the mascot. What I'm trying to say is that I do recall a lot of people saying, even though they voted on that survey in the way of saying move forward, it was so easy to skew that, and you could have submitted yourself multiple times. I would like to see another one with a more mirroring some other districts I've seen, which I don't even know what I can say at this point that I don't want I want you to yell at me again. I just think that there's a way we could reissue another survey that gives a more fair voice and is a little bit cleaner in the way it's worded. That's a little more specific. Like, what are you comfortable spending as a community? What is the cap? Instead of us just being like, they said yes before we spent a dime, right? Like that's how I just feel like it needs to be revisited. I'm not saying yes or no. That's why I was looking to table and hopefully do that.
The survey said, what was it? No, what was the third question again? I'm
A
sorry.
lot of people said yes to saving it and no to spending money, though.
Now, April, I don't know what you're talking about. The
Ms.
people
Poppy,
came
can
in.
we get some
Again, there were
results
people
on
who
that?
showed up here. Vote, and if it goes.
I just want to say that it. I just want to say if we do, I'm sorry, but can we, no, I'm sorry, we cannot, no shouting. If we do another survey, it's going to be very similar to the one that's sent out. So if you're saying somebody could take it 10 times, when we send out another survey, it's going to have the same results.
The challenge when that survey was developed last summer, I know when I first got here, there was this sense across the community. I hope 14 months later it's changed. There was a sense of a lack of trust. And so what seemed to be a priority, maybe not from the board, so I'll speak for myself, was for people to feel comfortable with expressing themselves, so therefore the survey being anonymous. If we do another survey, and we want to take out that ability for somebody for or against to click it a million times, I don't like either. But if you think anybody could do it, it probably washes out. But I do get the fact I don't like it. It's a challenge to make it truly anonymous. We could do the best we can. There's usually some kind of identifier, but maybe it could be a serial. I don't know. That was the challenge with the survey development. And this is not something that we're going to be able to do in a week. Now, maybe we could do it in a couple of weeks, So I just wanted to revisit that.
That was one of the, that was the primary challenge, was that we looked into using like a Survey Monkey. However, we were unable to remove that option to be anonymous. There had to be an email address left in order to fill out. And then we talked about, well, who's verifying these email addresses as district residents anyhow, right? So we did have those discussions, and we went with Google.
I have 4 email addresses that I use.
So just to get clarity, are we tabling this for September 10th, or are we voting on this tonight?
I'm fine with voting on it, or take whatever you want to do.
Okay. Can I get a motion and a second to approve additional funds for the mascot?
Motion. Second.
Do I have to read that whole thing? That's a no? Okay. So the Board of Education would approve additional expenditures not to exceed $25,000 without further approval from the Board of Education. Ms. Iannatelli, how do you vote?
I'm a no.
Okay, I am a yes. Ms. Napolitano-Ferno?
I'm a yes.
Ms. DiLorenzo?
Yes.
Ms. Torregrossa?
No.
All right, motion passes. Can I call for a motion and a second to approve the claim auditor reports for June and July 2024?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
I have a question. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I just have to ask. I noticed that for this, I guess it was an internal audit, that it looked like we had for June, the inquiries, which were things like, I think it was purchase orders that were done after invoices. And these inquiries for June added up to over $86 million worth of I guess, whatever the bills were, the invoices, whatever it was. And then in July, it was over $13 million, which is close to $100 million for, that were questioned. And questions such as, let me get this up here. There were questions such as they were confirming a purchase because the purchase order date was June 6th, but the invoice was dated 4/19. A lot of money and a lot of where is the oversight? Missing numbers from check stubs and something where the district should obtain a board approved contract. So how does this happen? And I don't know, where all of this goes on, but I do feel like there has to be some better controls on that because almost $100 million in, inquiries through internal audits is a lot. That's a lot of money that invoices and things that there's information that's not correct on there. And that's just taxpayer money. So I do have to ask how that happened because I want to make sure we're being, having proper
I can address
oversight of it.
that. So the claims auditor review every payment that this district makes, every check that's issued. The claims auditor is the final person, independent person who actually reports directly to the board. So it's not, I'll say, an employee of the business office. The claims auditor reports directly to you. That's why you're seeing these reports, and that's why you're also approving these reports. But when you highlight those totals, like the 86 million, that's the grand total of all the expenditures, all the checks and all. So the exceptions that she's noting in here, and we tend to call them confirming purchase orders, when a purchase order is dated after the invoice. It's always frowned upon, but occasionally it happens that it's not put in place in time for the start of a school year when the service is actually incurred. So I'm looking here at the July. Is this the June? The June. Is that which one of them that we're approving? The June and the July?
July.
Yeah.
The July is here.
Gotcha. Okay. So I don't want to minimize in any way, Jackie, what you have noted here. The purpose of a claims auditor is to actually make sure, as the last person, that these exceptions are caught, rectified, and brought to the board's attention. But please know that we, even as a whole, ultimately the business office is my responsibility. We are constantly making sure that each building, each department, each person who's making a purchase prepares that purchase order and has that backup documentation in advance of us authorizing the purchase. But it does, you can see it does happen occasionally, and there's some pretty detailed information as to the vendor and who. But I will definitely look into it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Can I get a motion and a second to approve the personnel items as presented?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Questions?
Oh.
Sorry. So I would like to find out what a network and systems administrator does for our district. It's line 20 on non-destruction? It was on destruction. Okay.
So the network systems the network systems administrator works in the IT department, managing some of the daily routines and jobs of the other technicians. There are different levels of support in the IT department. So you have the director of technology who oversees the entire department, including the instructional portion of technology. Then you have the infrastructure part of technology that is overseen by the network systems coordinator, the network systems administrator, and then network systems specialists and technicians. So the network systems administrator is one layer of that support for the IT department. It's the exact job description is held in my office and also civil service, as it is a competitive title that is a tested position, and the individual has to be on a list in order to be appointed to the position.
Thank you. One other question. I wanted to know what, we're approving some clubs tonight, and I wanted to know what the quarterly club is.
So the Quarterly Club is an online news and happenings club that is run from the middle schools. Each of the middle schools can support that. I believe RMS is right now the only one that has that running.
So I need that one to be a separate vote, because it's just like a newspaper that they're just doing, and I'm not sure how many people were in that club last year. So we could either table it.
What is the cost associated? I mean, it can't be that much.
Sorry, what number is it and which,
$2,825.
We know how many students are involved in it?
I would have to, well, right now, none, because it's the
No, I
summertime.
understand that. I understand.
But I would have to know historically how many students are. I'd have to ask Mr. Licato.
All right,
That's
okay.
part of
Before
a bigger conversation that we've been
Before we
having.
get rid of a club, we should find out more information.
I'm okay with tabling it, but I'm just saying it has to be pulled out, just because I don't remember this being on my list. And if it's one of the ones that we didn't have any kids in, I don't want to approve it.
April, what number was it? I can't even.
47. On the secondary club schedule.
I'm not
47.
Just so the community does know, last year, as a board collectively, we looked at many of the different clubs, and we also looked at how many students attend these clubs, and we did notice that many of the clubs, even though we're giving stipends out for them, students were not attending. So we are really paying attention to this, especially with some of the cuts throughout the year. And you know, I got to say that the administration worked with us, and many of them now are taken off because of the fact of attendance being low or nothing at all. So that's why I'm questioning this.
Jesse, I just need guidance, I guess, on how to pull it, because there are so many number 47s.
Sure. So are we pulling it for a separate vote, or are we just tabling it to the September 10th meeting?
Who attends it?
Sure. I'm okay with tabling it.
Yeah, I don't care.
That's fine.
All right, so the board unanimously tables item number 47 from the secondary club. So you're gonna approve the rest of them as amended.
Okay. So can I call for a motion and a second to approve the personnel items as amended?
A motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No,
Aye. All right. Does anybody have any public comment on the consent agenda before I read this whole thing? Okay.
Did I just say no to all of them? No, I'm a yes to all of them. I thought I'm a no to tabling it.
Oh. You don't want to table it?
I don't want to table one club, but I'm approving all the other. Everything on there, I'm a yes. But I'm a yes for the club too. So if she wants a table and you guys have the vote to table, it's fine.
Okay.
But I just want it on record that I'm a no for the table.
Can I call for a motion and a second to approve items 2 through 21 of the consent agenda?
Motion.
Second.
Before I go to the questions from the board, I'm just going to ask Dr. Centimore to read the advocacy letter for the foundation aid, which is consent agenda item number 3.
Thank you, Ms. Mallon. And I know I've referenced it a few times this evening. So the governor asked the Rockefeller Institute of Government to be a commission to look at the foundation aid formula. and this is the letter for the board's consideration this evening. Dear Rockefeller Institute of Government, on behalf of the Connecticut Central School District's community, students, and staff, we request that you strongly consider the feedback that has been provided in the position statement of the Nassau-Suffolk School Boards Association, as well as the points expressed below when drafting your recommendations to the state with regards to potential changes to the foundation aid formula. For Connecticut to maintain programs and positions crucial to the education and overall health and well-being of our students, a well-developed foundation aid formula is necessary. Our district has consistently demonstrated a commitment to excellence in education. Like many districts in the region, an enrollment comparison over the last 20 years doesn't speak to the significant investment in robust educational programs and services for all students. During this time, enrichment, intervention, elective, and advanced course offerings have increased. In addition, we have seen upward demographic increases on the special education and E&L populations, as well as increases to our student mental health and wellness needs. Safety, security, technology needs have also required a substantial investment of funding. We are seriously concerned about the potential negative impact to Connecticut students' educational experiences if the foundation aid formula is not carefully recalibrated and phased in to ensure that districts such as ours do not fall into a pattern of negative to 0% annual state aid increases while operational costs continue to rise. Thus, a hold harmless provision with a built-in aid adjuster for costs and inflationary increases is essential to avoiding a revenue cliff. Many educational costs are due to the numerous unfunded or inadequately funded state mandates, such as the electric bus initiative. When reviewing the funding of education, it is important to look at the entire system. In addition to unrealistic mandates, such as electric buses, this also requires a close examination of both the ERS and TRS pension systems, as well as the health and liability insurance providers. The Connecticut Central School District implores the Commission to make recommendations that will properly support and especially sustain New York's public education system. An investment in education is an investment in the future of our state. An equitable foundation aid formula that provides fair and adequate annual state aid funding is essential in ensuring that our teachers and schools can continue to provide the most conducive learning environment possible to our students. Thank you for your time and consideration of this urgent matter. Sincerely, myself and the board.
Thank you so much. I have a quick question on the consent agenda. Mr. Hauser, if you can help. On number 6, the authorization of school lunch prices. I just wanted for clarification to the community. I know we're getting free lunch, but why this is here for us to approve?
Sure. So as you said, even though the students are receiving their first breakfast meal and their first lunch meal for free, there may be students who want to purchase a second meal. So those prices are there. If they want the complete breakfast or the complete lunch, they would have to pay those costs, as well as adults. So staff, if they want to buy, the staff do not participate in that community eligibility program. We have to pay full price.
Can you also, I mean to piggyback you, people were asking, I know that for the 2024-2025 school year, all of the schools are included except for Idle Hour, which we're supplementing and paying. Last year, there was money that we were able to put in a waiver for. Were we able to get that waiver again for Idle Hour? Or was there, because I know people were asking on social media, and I said, there was a waiver last year, I'm sure of it. And I thought we put in for the waiver again this year, but I wasn't clear if we received it.
Yes, put in for the waiver and we received it for Idle Hour. Again, it's a year. It's a year to year. We don't know, each year, so that waiver will exist. But
That's wonderful. So we're not paying for Idle Hour.
Correct.
The waiver is. I just want the community to know that. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions on the consent agenda?
Yeah, I have for 2 different items. One, and I'm not going to go back to what happened last year, but the Envision Math Professional Development, correct me if I'm wrong, I thought that was only for 1 year, but now it's back on there for this year again. How did that come about? Because I can't remember. Was it only originally 1 year that we were going to do?
It's an annual commitment and an annual contract. So last year, the board approved the contract for the 23-24 school year. We're suggesting continuing the service through this school year, paid for through our remaining ARP funding. So it's at no cost to the district, and it's a continuation with that same developer who worked within the district last year. So it's a continuation of service. She will be here so long as the board approves the contract, fewer times than she was last year. We'll actually share her with another local school district, and the cost to our district, which is funded by the grant, would be reduced for that reason.
I know last year I voted no, but this year I'm voting yes, because I do know that I was told by some educators what a great professional development it was, and I'm glad to hear that.
Okay, my other questions were on the district-wide safety plan. I have to ask for, on page 9, okay, there's the cultural responsiveness team. Can somebody just give me any kind of idea of what that team does? And I mean, I see there's a little bit here on child abuse prevention services, of course, but maybe just a little more details on that.
Ms. Di Lorenzo, just refer to the page. That
Sure,
might help.
it's on page 9, which actually, if you look at the PDF, it's page 10 on there because the first page is.
This is for the social workers.
Yeah,
It's
the
for
cultural
it's for the
response.
social workers, it's the child abuse that they do,
Page
the
9,
child
where
abuse
is it?
prevention services.
Oh, 10.
So my understanding of cultural responsiveness, anything, just means that it's the social workers will have the specific training to acknowledge any like cultural differences when working with someone. So like not everyone is going to get spoken to. Some things that are okay in my culture might not be okay in your culture. And it's just ensuring that the social workers have an understanding of different culture, communication skills. It's to like make sure we're being respectful.
It's not DEI type training. It's, I think Ms. Torgrosa gave a good explanation.
Thank you. My other question is on the next page, which is page 10, but on the document, it's actually page 11, under the, let me go back up to it, the EASL, Social Emotional Literacy Implementation. And the wording is actually identical to what it had last time when Ruler was I'm sorry, I'm very tired. It's been a long day. When we were doing Ruler, it just kind of changed to EASL, which I know we're doing something different, but it still states the Yale University K-8 SEL program. And Yale has the YCEI, which is the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence, which is actually Ruler. So how, I'm just curious to know how we're going about doing this, because if we're using Yale, that's Ruler, that's CASO, that's all of that I thought we weren't doing. And I know maybe that then it's time to have a little bit of a presentation from PPS just to give an update, because we actually haven't really heard too much about EASL and how we're doing it. And I know it's been about a year.
You are correct. We are not using Yale. I'm exhausted as well. This particular paragraph, although it does reference our in-house EASL program, does contain erroneous information about the district's affiliation with the Yale University.
Could we strike the first sentence?
Yes.
And the rest of it is
For some
okay to get
accuracy.
because we are up against
Yes.
the state deadline?
Yes.
So could I
that-
recommend to the board that we strike that first sentence? That's an excellent catch, thank you. I think the rest of that language is basic enough. And then we could always follow up in the future with an EASL update, from student services. Mr. Koliva could speak with Ms. Pisani to get us an update. So my recommendation is to strike that one sentence, to amend accordingly.
So I'll ask for a motion second to approve as amended. Just that one item?
Ms. Poppy, the rest of the paragraph is generic enough that if we strike the first sentence.
I believe so, yes. And it does reference our homegrown district easel program.
Yeah.
So I think the concern is really in that first
Yeah,
sentence, that
we're
first
not
bit there.
affiliated with Yale in terms of this program.
Yeah, because my understanding was it was developed by us, it's our
Correct.
own thing,
Right.
has nothing to do with that, so I
It's
do
what we
appreciate that.
advocate-
Just to have, transparency and for it to be accurate.
It's what we advocated for and against, to have our own in-house easel program versus SEL DEI.
Which we do, and that's a good catch. We'll strike it in the amended approval.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions? All right, so I'm going to ask for a motion and a second to approve items 2 through 20 of the consent agenda.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Can I have a motion and a second to approve item number 21 as amended?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, I will now open the floor for the open public comment portion of the agenda. I will call individuals forward one at a time. Please wait for my acknowledgement before stepping up to the podium. You should have received a number card from security on the way in. If you have not, please see a security guard in the back of the room. Any person wishing to address the board shall address the board president. Comments should be kept as brief as possible and relate to school matters only. Each person will be limited to 3 minutes for one or more topics. Individual employees, parents, or children should not be identified by name, title, position, grade, or building. The use of foul language and threatening comments will not be tolerated, and the board will consider a recess until order is restored. In accordance with policy 1230, public comment will not exceed 30 minutes. If there are additional persons wishing to speak, the board may consider a motion to extend the time. Number 1.
Where we left off, budgets. I don't know what we voted on because I have no idea how many people are back. I don't know if there's a final number. So it seems like we're voting on budgets and then they're changing again. I think the coming year is going to be even more difficult. And the reason I say that is because the governor wanted to cut $76 million last year from all of Long Island schools. And the end result was we thought we'd get $1 million, but we wound up with, I think, 641,000, which is why we had a lot of the back and forth issues. I think the idea of starting in October, and I'm thinking of a separate lane of start with a zero-based budget, but don't start at zero. Start at what the contingency budget should be. Figure out what you think our add-on will be without going over the cap. Figure out what gets added back in, and then put slices of what we think we might get in state aid. Because right now, I think the bet is we'll get no money as opposed to getting a lot more money. And if we don't make these choices early on, we're going to have that same kind of problem of at the end of this exercise, we're going to vote for a budget that doesn't really reflect what's going to happen over next summer to get us into September. You know, we got a little lucky. We got some people who wanted to leave on their own, and so that brought us back some more teachers, because getting rid of teachers is not going to help us educationally. It's not going to help our academics. It's not going to help our classroom sizes. So to me, I'm going to be hammering away this entire year about what we're doing with the budget. And I think we need to be a lot smarter this time, and a lot more in the open. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Number 2. Just going to ask you to press the microphone on just for the people at home. Yep, thank you.
Where? Right here?
Right.
Okay.
There you go, thank you.
People at home, that's really why I'm here, because the first topic of the evening was on LGBTQ policy. And I think over 10 minutes, we used 4 words. Okay, that's not transparency. We use, some people wanted to see the words all children. Somebody from last time, the vote was on trans children, but there was no clear visual explanation for a public meeting to explain what the heck we were talking about. You know, there was an argument over trans and all children. The nuance of the wording that was argued was left out of the conversation. So you have many people on YouTube tonight going, what the hell was that all about? I was sitting back here saying, I am here in a public meeting. We just watched for 10 minutes and I have no idea what anybody talked about. Okay. And on a personal matter, my wife was up here. She's not here tonight. At the last board meeting, okay, speaking to these topics, okay? Within a week and a half, she got a text message from Dr. Centimore, okay, 7:30 on a Friday night saying, did you get my text message? She showed it to me and I said, this has got to be, this is not Dr. Centimore. This came from some wacko, okay? But where do the wackos come from? Because, you know, I'm listening to board topics here, which my wife was addressing, okay? You know, as a household, you know, as a standard of my household, I start getting worried when we start getting text messages from wackos, okay? This is a subject that's serious, okay? Especially in this day and age, you know? And these subjects, we all know, are getting pretty serious in national politics, okay? You can see what's happening in Nassau County. You know, you can see, you know, the politics of this country, you know, have gotten very strange recently, okay? Weird is one of the terms that's used, okay? I don't want to see it being dragged through the board meetings, okay? And so I actually picked up my phone, which has got a strange area code, and called Dr. Centimore, okay? I got a message back from you in a half hour saying, I'm in a meeting, I'll get back to you. It makes no sense, okay? But I am using this to explain the seriousness of these discussions. And for us, for this board meeting, to have a discussion tonight, it was total gibberish, okay, to the outside community trying to understand what you were talking about. No one understood what you were talking about. I'd love to hear the nuance because I'm sure just listening at the end, it's probably okay, but I have no idea what you talked about, okay? So thank you.
Thank you, and I thank you for sharing your thoughts. There was an issue with some kind of IT glitch that did.
I'd like to understand the nuance, though, the difference between all children and trans children. Because that appears to be the settlement to the policy argument. I have no idea.
So we just wanted to make sure that all children were included in the policy.
But what was the policy?
The policy is about gender non-discrimination.
Gender
and-
non-discrimination. Okay, thank you.
And equity across, I mean,
Spencer should have addressed it.
Sure.
Just to add him to the conversation.
I got it.
You know?
So my recollection is that it's policy 0100. It's the non-discrimination policy for the school district, 0100. And it relates to, or just reiterates, the Board of Education, the district's policy against discrimination for any particular child that's attending in the schools. The district received guidance from the New York State School Boards Association recommending that it include specific language addressing transgender children. What the district has opted, what the board has opted to do, instead of carving out this particular language for transgender students, instead taking that language out of the recommendation or away from the recommendation from the School Boards Association and putting in there instead all children. Instead of just targeting one specific group of children, we're going to make sure that this policy applies to, or this language applies to, all children in the district. Okay.
I have assumed that just by the body language of some of the board members, but it gets me.
thank you, Mrs. Spencer. And yes, there was an IT glitch that sent out. Dr. Centimore did not want to talk to half the community last Friday night, even though I'm sure he loves talking to the community.
Right, it was a phishing with a PH, And somebody, I was outraged, they were intimidating me, and they didn't come across as charming as I usually do, which hopefully that gave it away.
Thank you, sir. Number 3.
Just to add to about the with the policy, everything's on, even the policy itself, which of course it's hard to do here if you're not on a device. The policy itself is actually there online, and I totally understand that it could be confusing to kind of go through the agenda, find it, especially in the middle of the meeting. But I'm glad you brought that up, because for reference, if anybody does want to go back and look at our agenda, when you go into board docs, you can find a link to the actual policy to see exactly what we were looking at, and to see, and then, kind of look at it with the meeting if you want to rewatch it to see what was changed, just to help follow along.
Thank you. Number 3.
Hi. Okay, first I have a couple of questions for Ms. Poppy. Easy though. If you could just let me know, you don't have to tell me tonight, if any of the staff in any of the buildings are Stop the Bleed trained, and if so, how many in each building, and if it's posted on the walls, as well as how many people are CPR and AED trained, and if those staff members' names are posted on the wall for anybody to be able to know who to scream for if in case of emergency. So that's something that I would like to know. I'd also like to know a list of all the DASA coordinators in each building, please, because that's not something I was able to find on the website. Maybe it's there. I don't know. I can't find it. Also, I appreciate that you guys got my email regarding the grant that BOCES secured for helping students in the CTE programs with their supplies. It's great that the district is able to provide some help to some students, and I appreciate that we do have some verification process. But however, there are a lot of people that look great on paper but are still really struggling. So I do agree with Jax that we do need a way to let every family know that if their child is going to BOCES and they are having financial hardship, to please reach out. Because I will tell you that I do know families who have reached out to the district in the past. It's been a humiliating experience, so they should not have to seek it out. So I don't think that that's okay. What was the other thing? Marisol, thank you for mentioning the swim season. There was a rumor that middle school wasn't going to have a swim season, so maybe we could figure that out. And I do agree, all the students should know if they're going to have a swim season, because that really stinks if that's your sport. What else? Oh, April, I appreciated that you wanted the community to maybe help the kids out in BOCES. I'm all for helping a child. You know that we volunteered for many years together. The thing is this, the money is there. So there's no reason for that. Let's help kids out who need backpacks, kids who need shoes, kids who need food. Like, let's do those things because the money's there for this. So that's why I say no, not because I don't want to help the kids. I love the in-house work. Not just because of the savings, because I think it shows that the pride that our facilities workers have in the place that they work. So I really love to see that. I thought that was wonderful. The other thing I'd like to bring up too is that, also the certification process for the CTE programs. A lot of times, even if we can't pay it, they'll waive that fee for students, much like the SATs and things like that. The teachers in those classes know how to work within that to figure that out. So even if we can't pay for those certification fees, there are ways around that. The other thing, the mascot money, yes, it irritates me to no end because we're chasing whatever. So Wanaka got a $200,000 grant from their local assembly in May. So they said no, thank you. Cambridge School District Upstate, the State Appellate Division panel dismissed their lawsuit in December. So these are all things you guys should have taken into consideration. Melissa, thank you so much for asking for an absolute breakdown of all of the prices of what it really would cost to change it, because that's important information. I think that when you make a decision to spend a lot of money, whatever it is, you should have all of the facts. Like if I'm going to do work on my house, I want a breakdown of everything, not just a few items, because that's just a smart way to shop. But that's just me. What do I know? And also, Melissa, thank you for explaining cultural competence to our board who didn't know. Thanks.
Thank you. Number 4. Okay. Can I please call for a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting?
Motion.
Second.
Wishing everybody a happy, safe Labor Day weekend. Happy first day of school. And we will be meeting as a board for a work session Thursday at 6 to do board goals if anybody wants to join us.